if you saw my last stream, you'll know that I went over Todd Blanche's interview with Madam Maxwell, Ghislaine Maxwell, who's been transferred into a low security prison since this interview. But Todd Blanche, bless his little heart, for those of you who don't remember, Todd Blanche is the Deputy Attorney General for Donald Trump for America. And before this, he was Trump's personal lawyer. He helped to defend Trump against the Stormy Daniels lawsuit. Like, he was his personal defense lawyer. And now he's in a very different position where he's supposedly kind of supposed to take more editorial role, although in this particular situation, that is not really what he's doing. He's interviewing Ghislaine Maxwell in a very, I would say, like, friendly, charitable, extending her a lot of goodwill, extending her a lot of benefit of the doubt. It seems almost like a calculated PR interview he's conducted with her. It literally does feel like a Joe Rogan interview. You know how Joe Rogan's always like, yeah, no, I never thought about it like that. Like, he just kind of agrees with whatever guest he. This is the vibe. This is the essentially what we're seeing with Ghislaine Maxwell. Yes, Mickey makes mistakes. But did he ask her if she ever tried DMT? He comes about as close as you can get to that. Yeah, that's the only thing missing from this that would make this an actual Joe Rogan interview. When you were on the island, did you ever try magic mushrooms? We have already gone over. So I've gone over now the entire interview, both by myself. I haven't streamed it or anything, but I've gone over it, and it's so fucking long. It's like 500 pages long or something. Not quite that long. I think it's like 400 or something like that. And so I've gone through the whole thing, and I took screenshots of all the most important stuff. So in the day one interview, which I went over a little bit already, Ghislaine Maxwell, let me give you guys the Cliff's notes here. I was being interviewed by this dude, Todd Blanche, who doesn't seem to really know much, if anything, about Jeffrey Epstein. Doesn't really seem to be familiar with the case, doesn't seem to have done much research. Seems like from what I understand, this interview was put together very quickly. Very, very quickly. So Todd Blanche probably didn't have time to bone up on Ghislaine Maxwell. Honestly, I think before him, I think, who was it that was in his position? Was it Maureen Comey who would have been the person to do this interview? I think she would have been a lot better. But obviously, Trump hates the Comeys. I think the three most interesting parts that I've already kind of gone over on stream are where, like, Todd Blanche is like, we want to know who was connected to Epstein. And there's 3 separate times where Ghislaine is like, oh, yeah, okay, I actually have a list right here. I have a list of his clients. She literally says, I have like a list of his clients. She's referring to his financial clients, not his, sex trafficking clients. But she's like, I have a list of his clients right here. And she starts reading them out. And all 3 times that she's doing this, she gets interrupted by Todd Blanche. And he shifts the conversation to something completely different. And I'm not even sure if it's like maybe it could be that he's like worried that there'll be something incriminating with Donald Trump or something like that. He's worried, or maybe not even Donald Trump. Maybe he's trying to protect people, or he's just like an idiot. Like, I actually don't know. And I honestly, after reading the whole thing, not knowing anything else about Todd Blanche aside from like this, interview that I've read, and I know that he was Trump's lawyer, I can't really tell a moron or if he just is consciously trying to protect people. Because what he'll do is he'll be like, stop reading the names that you've written down. Let me name people and you say yes or no. So it's 3 separate times that he does that. Yeah, very, very odd. So here is a question about, this is interesting. Todd Blanche says, did you ever know Mr. Epstein to communicate with FBI agents, either like intelligence FBI agents, like as a source, or just generally with FBI agents? That's an interesting question. Like, a lot of this is bullshit, right? And obviously we can't trust anything Ghislaine Maxwell says, but she does know things. She does know things that we haven't heard yet. So I do think there are some interesting new things that we can learn from this interview. It's just, how do we separate what's true from what's false, and like what's made up and what's self-serving and whatever. Like, obviously she's going to do whatever she can to protect herself, number one, and I mean, maybe even above that, Donald Trump. She knows that Trump is her ticket out of jail if he could give her a pardon. So she is trying to make sure that Trump looks good and she looks good at the very least. And I think there's probably other people as well that we'll get into that she's trying to make look good. But other than that, like, this is an interesting question. Did you ever know Mr. Epstein to communicate with FBI agents? I don't know, whatever. Was Epstein an FBI asset? He's asking. Great question. I would ask Ghislaine that if I was in this place. Ghislaine, no. Or let me do a Ghislaine voice for this. No. I have two answers for that. I think if he was for real, I think he would have bragged about it to me as a show-off. Because he could be a show-off. And if he wasn't, he might have dropped it like he was cool. And I don't remember him doing either. Now, again, with the caveat in mind that, the caveat in his, before I met him finding money, I think he may have suggested there were some people who helped him, but that's the only context that I recall that in. So she's being very vague here. I'm assuming he told her. So we're hearing this from a bullshit artist, and she's relating something that another bullshit artist told her about a bullshit organization, the FBI. So who knows what's true here? But apparently Epstein told Ghislaine that there were some people who helped him get rich who were, I guess, FBI. Todd Blanche asks the wrong question here. What do you mean by that? When you said finding money, what do you mean? It's the wrong question because Ghislaine has already explained this earlier in the interview. And if you know anything about Epstein, you know one of his apparent jobs before, all of the horrible stuff that people get into is that he was a financial bounty hunter for the very rich. He'd find out where their money was being embezzled and he'd get it back for them and he'd take a cut of that embezzled money. Personally, I don't believe that happened. So, Todd Blanche, what do you mean by that? When you say finding money, Ghislaine explains to him something that she's already talked about earlier in the thing. But this is interesting. Okay, get this. I think in that context he showed me a photograph that he had with some African warlords or something like that he told me. And, I don't remember that's what I interpreted that kind of thing, or whether it was something like that. Very hard to parse this, but that's the only actual active memory I have of something nefarious. Not nefarious, I don't know. I don't even know if it was nefarious, but covert, I suppose would be the word. So apparently Epstein showed her a photo of him with some African warlords and was like, yeah, I worked with, doesn't really sound like an FBI thing. That sounds more like a CIA thing. But it seems like he did try to give Ghislaine the angle that he told Ghislaine that he was working with intelligence. Moving on. Todd Blanche later goes, and what about any other intelligence agency like the CIA or Defense Intelligence or any other law enforcement agency? Ghislaine, okay, I don't think so. I don't remember anything like that. I just don't think he had the wherewithal. I think that whole aspect of that is, can I use a bad word? Can I use a naughty word? And this is her lawyer, David Marcus. Yes. Todd Blanche. Yes. Bullshit. Ghislaine's known for being really raunchy. Everybody's like, oh, she was such a dirty mind. Oh, the way that she would just blah, blah, blah. But I guess this is a little bit of that. It's like, oh, she's so charming. She'd be at the fanciest place and she'd be talking about really dirty sexual stuff. And so, yeah, a little bit of the true Ghislaine, the one who says bad words. So it's interesting. So she thinks that whole thing is bullshit, or at least she wants you to think that that whole thing's bullshit. She goes on, I think he was because I think one of the reasons why he liked me was because of my family connections, or why he liked other people was because they were cool or whatever. And I think that certainly early on when I met him, he would have tried to impress me or tried to show off, if you will. Like he was that guy, and he wasn't that guy. And I think that he would have tried to bullshit me and he didn't. So I think this is interesting. Yeah. I guess what she's saying here is that, and actually this makes sense to me. Personally, I do think that Epstein had some connections to intelligence, but the way that she's been saying, he said he was CIA, but he used to bullshit me all the time. And I just think he liked people to think that he was CIA or FBI or whatever. And she's saying that one of the reasons why he liked me was because of my family connections, referring to her father, his mysterious death, and his connections to Mossad, Russia intelligence. Yeah, I think that like that makes sense because Epstein did lie all the time. Epstein was a compulsive liar. Like he would tell people he was a concert pianist, tell people he was a brain scientist. He would tell people he would tell people he was CIA. He'd tell people he was FBI. He would tell people all kinds of things. There's all kinds of different moments where Epstein would just be completely lying to people. So really interesting. And like I almost believe this part because like it does seem like something Epstein would do. Be like, oh man, this is great. If I keep hanging out with Ghislaine, people are going to think that I'm like connected to this high level intelligence shit because she is and her family is. It's interesting. I mean, like maybe that was the reason he got with her originally and why he like kept her around, is he enjoyed that connotation. Of course, now that's only driven conspiracy theorists crazy, but like, I don't know. I feel like there's some truth to this. Moving on. Oh, okay. We know Lynn Forrester, aka Lynn Forrester de Rothschild. She's an interesting lady. So here's Lynn Forrester. She's a billionaire. She's like really good friends with the Clintons. And she's also really good friends with Jeffrey Epstein. Here she is with the Clintons. That's her, Lynn Forrester. And I got a little draw thing. Let me try this. So here's Lynn Forrester, and here's her husband, Evelyn de Rothschild. He's a Rothschild. What does he do? He does something for the Queen of England. Like he's in charge of, I don't know, banking, something other like that. Lynn Forrester de Rothschild. We know that she has a bunch of weird connections with Epstein. But this was new. I had never heard this. This is Ghislaine talking. So Lynn Forrester, who was a client or some type of client, like a financial client. Oh, I think she actually tried to date him or might have dated him. For the record, she was in, do you want to ask me something? No, go ahead. Okay, she had a house, so she rented a house in the Vineyard. That's Martha's Vineyard. I think it was in the Vineyard in Nantucket. I can't remember which one it was. It was one of those. And she invited Epstein to go, and I believe that's when he met Prince Andrew. And apparently this is how he met Dershowitz as well, at a party at Lynn Forrester de Rothschild's house in Martha's Vineyard. Speaking of Epstein, I don't know if Rod Weber is still here, but Rod Weber was in Martha's Vineyard the other day, fucking with Alan Dershowitz personally. Was going to fuck with him at his like protesting a pierogi stand that he was doing. Anyway, yeah, you might have seen like the pictures of Dershowitz with a guy behind him holding up the sign that says like Epstein 2025 or 20. It's like a election campaign ad for Epstein ticket. So anyway, so that's new that he dated Lynn. Like I'm not saying she's like unattractive, but she's a little old for Epstein. So the fact that they dated, that's crazy to me. Moving on. Ghislaine, she always hates the word relationship. And she's always being asked about, did you have a relationship with this person? Did this person have a relationship with this person? And she always takes that to be sexual. Oh, relation. I don't like that word. It sounds clunky. Anyway, it's just interesting. And also, Fergie, Prince Andrew's former wife, the Duchess of York, she also apparently was trying to date Epstein. It says they're talking about how Prince Andrew and Epstein met. And through Sarah, actually, I think Sarah's the one that pushed that. I know this because I was annoyed and I felt left out. I felt disrespected and I was like, this is weird. Couldn't even imagine Epstein and Andrew together. And I thought that Sarah was trying to put the moves on Jeffrey, if I'm being honest. And I thought the whole thing was annoying and I was pissed off. So that's annoying. Yeah, this was in the 90s that she's talking about. The late 90s, I think she's saying, like 99 or so. When Epstein met Prince Andrew. Okay, this part is so fucking terrible. This might be my least favorite part of the whole thing, but I gotta read it. It's they ask her about Prince Andrew, and she's like, he's innocent. He never did a thing. If you'd ever known him, he's a perfect little butterfly puppy dog or whatever. Todd Blanche goes, and then with respect to, and this is Virginia Giuffre, the DOJ redaction, that's who that is. And with respect to Virginia and Prince Andrew, what do you know about that relationship? What's an even bigger word than bullshit? But finish that thought. Why do you think that? I'm going to tell you right now. I'm so happy to tell you. I'm like excited. I'm beyond excited. So the allegation, I have to go with the allegation. The allegation was that at my house in London in March, whenever that was, 2001, I believe, we went to London, especially so that Virginia could have a relationship with Prince Andrew, and she was paid a vast amount of money for that purpose. Okay, and then that she got in my bathroom in my house in London and had sexual relations with him, and then went into my guest room and had full-blown sex, and then left my house, or he left, and she felt used and disgusting. And a photograph was taken of them just before all these events took place in my study. That is what is the story. Oh, and then after that, she met him several other times. But we'll come to that. This is where it allegedly started. And then her lawyer interrupts, and they went to tramp. Oh, we went to dinner, right? Went to dinner and then to tramp. So, okay. So the first thing about that weekend, that specific weekend, was it was my mum's 80th birthday, and I was in the country. And I have some corroborating evidence for that. Blah, 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 blah. She thinks that this couldn't have happened because it was her mom's birthday. Second reason why is that I think it's the second reason why Prince Andrew's innocent, I think it's absolute rubbish, is that Prince Andrew, the idea of him doing anything of that nature in my house, is the size of this room, is so mind-blowingly not conceivable to me. As the man, or what, I can't even know. David Marcus, that's Ghislaine's lawyer, is there any way that it could have happened? No. David Marcus, okay. Leah Safian, another one of Ghislaine's lawyers, describe the physical pain. So you can tell this is something that, like, the lawyers have planned this out, right? The lawyers have been like prepping this. They've been making sure this is your chance to get out your side of the story here. This is not a trial. There aren't going to be cross-examinations. This is a chance for you to just spew bullshit, to make your thing. And like, you're probably going to get pardoned. And so just say your side of the story. And here is exactly all the points you need to hit. And you can tell sometimes she sort of misses things. Oh, you forgot to mention the nightclub. Oh, you forgot to mention this. You forgot to mention the physical pain. And then she'll go, oh, yes, the physical pain. So my house was tiny. I think it's 900 square feet in total. So maybe, is that right? Maybe 9? Leah Safian, yes, that's right. 900 square feet in total. It is on 3 floors, however. Okay. It used to be a stable for a horse. It was a stable for the big house. It was a little poor man's home behind the rich man's home. It's a jewel. So it's like her family has like a mansion, and then there's like a servant's quarters nearby that Ghislaine turned into her apartment. A poor man's home behind the rich man's home is how she describes it. Okay, so you're probably picturing like a little tiny cramped little house and a little tiny cramped little bathroom, right? Where she says that they had relations in the bathroom. First of all, the bath is an old Victorian bath. Okay, what, you can't like assault somebody if there's a antique piece of furniture in the room? Like, what does that mean? I'm quite small. It's tight for me. I put my brother in there to see what would happen. Weird way to put that. And it looks like a blivet, which is a sausage in like a very tight skin. What? What, your brother looks like a sausage? What are you talking about? So her description of whatever the two people were doing in the tub, that wouldn't work. The bathroom itself is so small, you can't lie flat on the floor. So it couldn't happen on the floor because you physically can't. This bathroom is too small to even be on the floor. Okay, so good point, DM Collins. We should make sure that we are aware of this. Virginia Giuffre just recently passed away. So she is not even around to defend herself. And Ghislaine spends a large portion of both days of the interview just shitting on her legacy, saying she's wrong, saying she's a liar, saying she's whatever, which is weird because if she was lying, you think she would have been able to prove it in court and she wouldn't be in prison right now. And also that's just one of the women who's accused Ghislaine of unspeakable acts. Okay. So you're probably picture what you think Ghislaine's talking about here, a tiny, tiny bathroom, a tiny, tiny bath that you could not possibly commit any assault in. By the way, I don't know if I have it here, but Virginia's version of events, without going into detail here, I believe Virginia just said he started in the bathroom and then we moved into the bedroom and he continued to assault me. Like he doesn't even like specifically, like she doesn't even say like any specific thing happened that you would need a lot of space for. But all that aside, this is what Ghislaine thinks is going to prove to people that Virginia was lying. Are you ready? Well, here we go. So back in 2023, I think. 2023, Ghislaine Maxwell's brother Ian posted this creepy ass photo of himself and a girl in the bathroom at Ghislaine's house he is wearing a mask of Prince Andrew's face, and she is wearing the face of Virginia Giuffre from the famous photo from like Ghislaine's house. Apparently it was taken like right before this took place. Now, like, that is not, first of all, is that a Victorian tub? That does not look like a Victorian tub. That looks like, I don't know, does not look that fancy. I mean, I guess it's got like crown molding or something on the side, but like, I was picturing like some kind of tub with like claw legs or whatever. You know what I mean? Like that just looks like your average, like, you know, shitty apartment, like tub that your landlord gets. Yeah. Like that's a big tub. That's actually a big tub, Ghislaine. She's acting like it's like the tiniest tub. And I mean, like, Virginia's fucking testimony, he started assaulting me in the bathroom and then we moved into the bedroom. I think that was it. But even if it was, like, I've had sex in smaller tubs than that. Like, I'm not saying it's comfortable, but like, this is not a fucking, like, you know, she doesn't have Virginia exactly dead to rights here. Like, this does not prove anything. Like, even the son here is like, this is the bizarre stunted picture Prince Andrew hopes will scrub clean his tarnished reputation. No, man, not at all. So all the reasons why this couldn't happen was, number one, it was her mom's birthday that weekend. Not really sure why that means that this couldn't have happened. Number two, Prince Andrew is like a sweet guy who would never do anything. Number three, the tub is too small. No, it's not. It's big. It's a big tub. And number four, this is number four, the kicker of all kickers. Ready for this? This is the kicker of all kickers. The kicker of all kickers is that because the bathroom was so small, I decorated it to try to make it look huge, which meant I put mirrors the whole way around it. As you can see, there are mirrors there. Okay. To you, this is a small bathroom. So I guess you put mirrors because you felt insecure. And what was so fun about being in there is that if you stood in the bathroom, you saw like 100 of you, like you do if you were in David Marcus, a fun house. Like, apparently this was a line that her lawyers were like, make sure you hit that, make sure you say it was like a fun house. Yeah, well, Alice in Wonderland are one of those things that you'd see yourself going, stretching everything. And the image, if you said let's say that Virginia was telling the truth, she could say that she was with 5,000 generations of the royal family because that's how far back you could see yourself. What? Wait, what? Why? What are you talking about? There is no way in God's green earth, if that had taken place, that this is something you would miss because you couldn't miss it. So she's upset that, or she's saying that because Virginia didn't mention the weird way that she'd chosen to decorate the bathroom, that means that it didn't happen. Like, why would Virginia mention that? Why is that important to her story? It's not. If you were standing there, you'd see the FBI, the whole Department of Justice standing behind you. It's like, no. Also, I don't even understand what she's talking about there. The FBI, the Department of Justice standing behind you? What? That part I don't get. Todd Blanche, did you, Ghislaine's lawyer? And also, let me just also explain where the tap was in the bathtub. Oh, well, it's an old, and I'm not even going to get into it. But okay, I got a photo of the full bathroom. Are you ready to see this like tiny bathroom, like this tiny poor man's home bathroom that Ghislaine says like there isn't even enough room to sexually assault somebody in? Like there isn't even enough room to like begin sexually assaulting someone in this bathroom. Ready? Ready for it? This is it. This is the tiny bathroom. This is the tiny bathroom. Like, I'm sorry. It's got a shower in it. It's got like a, you know, like a towel rack / I don't know, grab on with your hand. Like, this bathroom is huge. There's so much room in it. I just like, I don't understand what she is trying to say here. And yes, Rod, Martha's Vineyard really is a haunted island of the royal damned. What the fuck? To Ghislaine, this is a small bathroom, which I mean, I get it if you've been living in like the fucking old Iranian embassy and like Les Wexner's like massive homes and all these huge fucking opulent places that Epstein took her to. I'm sorry, Ghislaine, I'm sorry to tell you this. This is a big room. Like, you can't even fully see how big it is, but like you can see at least like it's at least the like depth of a bathtub. It's at least the depth of a bathtub, right? This is like at least its depth, right? And then along this direction, it's like, oh yeah, there's like at least room for like, the bathtub's kind of sunken into the wall or whatever there it looks like. And then there you've got the cabinet, and then you've got the toilet. And the toilet, there's so much room around it. Like I have a bathroom that is like just this, like not even the full length of the toilet here. It's like way smaller than that. Way smaller than that. Anyway, I'm offended by that she thinks that this is a small bathroom. Yeah, no, true, Mickey. I've seen bigger, but that's as big as both bathrooms at my parents' place combined. Yeah, like this is a big bathroom. She's been insanely rich her whole life. Rich people, eh? We should look at this. I believe this is an interview. What did Virginia say here? Miss Giuffre, also this is written in such a gross way, but Miss Giuffre claimed she and Andrew frolicked in a Victorian-style bath at Ghislaine's Muse house in posh Belgravia, March 2001. But now the Maxwell family protests that the tub is too small to have sex in. Last night, Miss Giuffre's friends blasted. They're having too much fun with this. They're having too much fun with this. This is the best Maxwell's side can do in defense of Prince Andrew. It's laughable. It's a disgusting attempt to discredit a victim of sexual abuse. It would be risible if it were not so offensive. Lisa Bloom, lawyer Lisa Bloom, who also you shouldn't trust, but she was the lawyer for a few victims of Epstein, including Katie Johnson. But if you've read, sorry, this is a little bit of a tangent. Sorry, I'll get back to the main point. But if you've read Catch and Kill, this is a woman who worked with Harvey Weinstein and was like defending him secretly and helping him and feeding him information from Ronan Farrow without Ronan Farrow knowing. And like, so she's not to be trusted, but she comes out and says, what a surreal, bizarre photograph. It proves nothing. Virginia said that she and Andrew were in the bath. The photo shows that two full-size humans can fit in the bath. Virginia, yeah, like the photo are two people in a bath. Like what do they think that proves? Like these people are delusional. They live in their own world. No one would ever be convinced by that. Anyway, yes, okay, Lisa Bloom says, Virginia said that she and Andrew then moved into the bedroom where the sexual activity occurred. Nothing in the photo disproves that. Yeah, very, very bizarre. And I agree, like, first, last, first. She's a bad liar and she's stupid. This is the vibe I get from Ghislaine. Like she likes to say like, oh, I'm smart, I'm educated, I'm very, very intelligent person. I have a British accent. Oh, I'm very posh. Oh, my family was very wealthy and through embezzled funds when I was growing up. So I'm actually quite smart. And I only enjoy hanging out with other smart. But like, she seems kind of stupid, you know? I do get that vibe from her. I think she's like charming. I think she has like, a certain kind of emotional, social intelligence maybe. But I don't think she's a good liar. And we're going to see plenty more examples of that. But this is like, gotta be one of the most transparently obvious ones. Oh, I'm so excited to finally tell you. Yeah, if this was going to convince anyone, then you wouldn't be in prison. You would have been able to prove that Virginia was lying. But no, even your photos prove that you're wrong, that you're whatever. It's so stupid. Another thing she does with Virginia, and she's done this before, she says that Virginia got the month wrong. I didn't take a screenshot of that part, but another point, she was really pissed. A really funny one was like, Virginia says that she was 15 when I recruited her to be a masseuse. She was 16. And it's like, okay, that's still underage. What are you doing? But yeah, she goes, the second thing is, I'm so excited to tell you this. There's a journalist. I know you guys are quite, well, I don't know. The fake news is at work here. So she's like, she's throwing in fake news there. Like, obviously, this is one of those things where it's like, there's only one audience for this, and it's Donald Trump throwing out the thing. And so she claims there's a journalist called Sharon Churcher, a lawyer called Brad Edwards, and Marie Villafana, I think. And so she thinks that these three are in cahoots. So Sharon Churcher is a Daily Mail journalist who wrote a bunch of the articles, was one of the first people to interview Virginia when the FBI wasn't doing anything, nobody was doing anything. None of the respectable newspapers would interview her, New York Times, yada, yada, yada. Virginia was able to go to the Daily Mail, this like garbage tabloid magazine or newspaper in England. And they did interview her. Sharon Churcher was the interviewer there. Brad Edwards was Virginia's lawyer. And the Florida prosecutor, this is Marie Villafana, who was one of the people who was part of the decision to let Epstein get away scot-free. Not scot-free, but with like a slap on the wrist, let's say, in 2009. And Brad Edwards I remember in his book, he talked about how, Marie Villafana, like, I know your story, no one else knows your story, and you are a good person, and you only wanted the best, and you weren't one of the guys that fucked over, like, all the victims of Epstein and let him go free. You hated that happened. But personally, I think she still kind of sucks because, like, she still didn't really make a public statement about it in that way. She sort of let it happen, and then maybe behind the scenes, she fed Brad Edwards some information or something like that. But anyways, I don't really need to explain who these people all are, but Ghislaine thinks that they're all this like holy trinity of framing Ghislaine Maxwell for crimes. But all right, here's a thing where Todd Blanche just doesn't know the Epstein story. He just doesn't know what's up. He's seen a couple like conspiracy theory memes, or he's watched like an Alex Jones episode or something, but he doesn't actually know anything about this. Did you attend any weddings of famous people with Mr. Epstein? I mostly focus on post 2000, but if there's something that comes to mind in the 90s, that's fine as well. Ghislaine, a wedding? Todd, weddings. With Epstein, I don't think I ever went to a wedding with Epstein. I can't think of a wedding I ever went to with him. Do you know, so you don't remember, you didn't attend President Clinton's daughter's wedding? I did. Chelsea Clinton's? Right. But that wasn't with Mr. Epstein? No, it was with Ted Waite, my boyfriend. Sorry, say it again. With Ted Waite, my boyfriend. Todd Blanche. Okay, do you know whether Mr. Epstein was at the wedding? He was not. Now, if you know anything about anything, you know that Epstein was not at this wedding. Ghislaine, this was in like 2009, I think. And Ghislaine was photographed at the wedding. This was long after Ghislaine had left Epstein's orbit. So he's like, I'm just like amazed that he doesn't know this. But I guess, I mean, a little bit of a break. Like not everybody has terminal Epstein brain. But he's just like wasting time. He's just wasting time. Why would this be the guy you send to interview Ghislaine Maxwell? Okay, maybe I'm being a bit too harsh there, but I don't know. It pisses me off. So again, Todd Blanche wants to name some names. There's some names that have been publicly associated with Mr. Epstein that I just want to ask you. Piers Morgan is friendly with who? With Mr. Epstein? I have no idea. Never. I doubt it. Like, I think Piers Morgan is in a photo with Ghislaine, but never associated with Epstein. So it's just funny that he's going there. This part is, oh man, clearly trying to throw a bone to the QAnon crowd. He's naming more people that she might know. He goes, did you ever meet JFK Jr.? So this is who QAnon believers, this is such a fucking weird thing, but like, actually QAnon is sort of divided, or was divided when it was more of a thing. There were the people who thought that JFK Jr. was still alive and was going to come back, and some of them even thought JFK Jr. was Q. And then there are the people who are like, no, guys, shut up. That's stupid. That didn't happen. Including Q. Including the actual person writing the Q post was like, guys, stop asking about JFK Jr. He's not alive. I'm not him. He has nothing to do with this. Even Q was like, this is stupid. But somehow JFK Jr. is still like a major part of their lore. So anyway, so Todd Blanche asked her about JFK Jr. Did you ever meet JFK Jr.? Yes. When was that? I met him at Andrew Cuomo's wedding. No, Carrie's wedding. Who did Carrie marry? Oh, Andrew Cuomo. Yes. Todd Blanche. Okay. Andrew Cuomo's wedding so when would that have been approximately? 1990. So before 1999. Something like that. Wait, 1999? Wait, didn't JFK Jr. die before that? Hang on. JFK Jr. Oh, he died in 1999. So, okay, so I guess she could have July 16th, 1999. So he would have died around wedding season. Andrew Cuomo, Carrie, wedding. Carrie Kennedy. Oh, Andrew Cuomo married a Kennedy? I didn't even know that shit. Oh yeah, okay, 1990. So that makes way more sense then. So she met JFK Jr. in 1999. But that would have been before you met Mr. Epstein. Or maybe yes, because she says that she met Epstein in 1991, and that does line up with what we know. Did you have any sort of a professional or social relationship with John F. Kennedy Jr.? I fancied him. You what? I thought he was very attractive. Oh, you fancied him. Sorry. Besides him finding him attractive and fancying him, do you have any sort of, social relationship with him? I mean, we knew each other. I thought he was wonderful and fun, and I enjoyed meeting him. But we went out. I want to say we had a dinner too, but obviously I was very excited, but that was it. So I feel like, I don't even know what the people who are still Q-pilled, I don't know what they're going to think about that their boy went on 2 dates with Ghislaine Maxwell, that Junior was Maxwell's one that got away, But yeah, I don't know what to do with that myself. A lot of like the big Q influencers have pivoted into like, a lot of them like just pivoted into overt Nazism, but there's still people there. There's still, I mean, fucking Kash Patel was a QAnon guy. Now he's the FBI director. Did Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein know Alan Dershowitz? There's a whole section on Dershowitz that's like, why are you asking this? Dude, did you know Alan Dershowitz? Yes, of course she knew Alan Dershowitz. And then he goes, did you know one way or the other whether Mr. Dershowitz got a massage at the island or any of the locations he was at with Mr. Epstein? Dude, why are you fucking wasting our time here? We don't need Ghislaine to tell us if Alan Dershowitz got a massage. Alan Dershowitz has admitted, he himself has talked about getting a massage. Like, crazy. But and even then she's like, I don't remember anything about him ever getting massaged. I don't ever have any record. I don't believe I ever even saw him in a bathrobe. I have no knowledge of that. So here's Dershowitz on The Hill Rising. He was like, I've had very, very few massages in my life. One house by a middle-aged woman who gave me a shoulder and neck massage, which I hated. I called up my wife and complained about it immediately. Yeah, okay. Yeah, exactly. It's like, why are you asking her this? We have it from the fucking Dersh's mouth here. And there's also this, which I find very interesting, the Juan Alessi interview, one of Epstein's house managers who once shared an office with Ghislaine Maxwell, like Epstein's butler. So this is his deposition. When Mr. Dershowitz was visiting, how often did he come? He came pretty often. I would say at least 4 or 5 times a year. And how long would he stay typically? 2, 3 days. Did he have massages sometimes when he was there? Yes, a massage was like a treat for everybody. If they want it, we call the massage and they have a massage. Interesting. Like, it's funny, like, a lot of these guys that people are like, this guy is definitely like, oh, like Bill Clinton for sure with Jeffrey Epstein was like a client of his, like Dershowitz. He seems like the guy over like almost anyone else that Epstein was trafficking children to. Dershowitz was hanging out with Epstein constantly. Like, he came pretty often. I would say at least 4 or 5 times a year, stays for 2 or 3 days. Like, this guy's like got a job. He's like a Harvard professor. He's a lawyer for the worst people on earth. And this is just one of Epstein's properties. And Dershowitz is making the time to visit his like Miami beach house 4 or 5 times a year. It seems like any chance he got to get away, he was like, hey, Epstein, could I come over for the weekend? Can I get a bunch of massages? Like, that certainly seems like the thing. Yeah. Glenda, his wife and young daughter, were there at the house during the massage. He says he didn't take his underwear off. Yeah, very, very, very weird. Anyway, this part, I just include this because I personally find Terramar shit hilarious. Terramar, if you're unfamiliar, is Ghislaine Maxwell's weird organization that the Clinton Global Initiative and the Clinton Foundation was giving her tons of money to do. She gave a bunch of X talks about it. She spoke at the United Nations about it. And it's like, Terramar, the oceans. What? Okay, but what the fuck is Terramar? And I've seen Ghislaine try to explain Terramar like a bunch of times. And, oh wait, what the heck is all this stuff? Terramar. I just want the Wikipedia page. There we go. Here's the Wikipedia page. A self-described environmental nonprofit organization. It has a flag, and Ghislaine often talked about like having a Terramar passport. Sometimes when people worked for her, when she hired help. This is after she left Epstein's circle. But when she would hire help, like a dog walker or whatever, she'd be like, "How many passports do you have?" "Well, you're about to have a second passport." And the Terramar passport was just, somebody would they'd type in their email and then they'd sign up for the Terramar newsletter. But what the fuck is Terramar? Well, I have never understood it. It's never made sense to me. It's never. I've listened to Ghislaine try to explain it many times. Here's another time that she's explaining it. So let's see if this is the time that we get it. I'm jumping around a little bit. You mentioned, I think, briefly the Terramar project. Yes. What is that? I founded Terramar, and the idea of Terramar came, I think, in 2010. So I just want to explain Terramar a little bit. So she goes on a little thing about how she got the idea. She was traveling the world with her husband, Ted Waits, and she was, I don't know, doing a bunch of scuba diving and stuff. And she realized that she loved the oceans. She got the idea from just seeing the oceans and being like, and I realized I really wanted to protect the ocean. And then this part was the part where I was like, what? So she goes, so this is after she broke up with this guy, Ted Wade. So, and I wanted not to clash with anything to do with Ted because it was a bit awkward between us. So he took all the part of the ocean that was close to the land, so within 200 miles. And so I decided I would focus on all the parts of the ocean that were outside of national borders, Terramar. And that's the genesis of Terramar. So, okay, sounds like her and her ex-boyfriend split custody of the ocean, got all of the parts of the ocean that are still subject to the laws of nations, and she got all the international waters parts of the ocean. I have always suspected, like, I always am like trying to read between the lines here, and I'm always like, it really seems like Ghislaine is trying to do some like harebrained scheme that's like a sea study, like even more harebrained than regular sea studying, like Peter Thiel shit, where they want to just build an island that's made of like boats out in the middle of the ocean, and like we can do whatever we want here. It's a libertarian paradise. That's how I feel like Ghislaine's Terramar thing is, except she wants it to be an actual country, and she wants to have a passport, and she wants to like when she was arrested, they were like, how many passports do you have? Like, well, you're a citizen of America, you're a citizen of this, you're a citizen of that. And like, she's like, yes, America and France and Terramar and also Sweden or something like that. Like she says like whatever. What indeed was Ghislaine Maxwell's day job? I mean, in this, she's saying that the whole time she was with Epstein, no, I wasn't helping with masseuses. I wasn't training them to please Epstein, even though that's what everyone says I was doing. And all these victims have come forward separately with the same identical story that I was like training them to become like sex slaves. No, I wasn't. I was his interior decorator. I don't even know how to massage. I'm not even a licensed masseuse. That wasn't me. I was just decorating. More like terrible. Hey, come on now. But yeah, that was I had never heard about this whole thing where, oh, well, like after our breakup, Ted got all of the within 200 miles of land and I got the rest of the ocean. So why did you guys have to split up the ocean? The ocean was not your child. You did not have to take the ocean to custody court. Anyway, Cheryl, Todd Blanche asks her, did she know Jean-Luc Brunel? Obviously she did. Let's see. Did she know Harvey Weinstein? She said yes. He asks her this. So there's been a lot of conversations about whether Mr. Epstein maintained like a list of people, like a book of famous people that he knew, like it's called a black book or a client list or a list. Do you know of the existence of any such list? So here we go. This is my first about how I don't believe that the client list exists. I believe that there were clients, but I don't think that there's some magical list that someone kept somewhere. Ghislaine says, well, Ghislaine's answer is very interesting. Ghislaine says, there is no list. We'll start with that. The genesis of that story I can actually trace for you from its absolute inception, if that is what you're interested in. It is. Well, first, to be sure, there is no list. There's no client list, nothing like that. And I thought that Ghislaine's list had originated, had started during the had started, when I say that, I mean the meme of the list, like the idea that there is an Epstein list. I thought that it had started during Ghislaine's trial because that's when it started to sort of come up in all these like right-wing memes and stuff. And like the Epstein client list released, and it would just be a list of like, Beyonce, Obama, blah, like anyone who the right wing hates. Obviously not Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton, like a bunch of people who were definitely not associated with Epstein at all. So she says there's no list. But then she says the origin of the story, I believe, begins, or it has a beginning in 2009. We'll just start there. In 2009, Epstein is, I think, out of jail, and there are civil suits taking place. Many of these are coming out of disgraced law firm Rothstein, Rosenfeld and Adler. So a couple things going on here. This was the law firm that that employed Brad Edwards, the lawyer Brad Edwards, the law himbo that represented a bunch of the lawyers, who I think is cool. I like him, and his book is good, but he is a bit of a himbo. Brad Edwards, lawyer. This guy, he's good. He's good, and his book is good. He was working for this law firm, Rothstein, whatever, and this law firm was running a Ponzi scheme. It was scamming people out of their money. And when they were scamming people, they would be like, he talks about it in his book. He's like, fucking, I can't believe they're doing this shit. God, I'm an idiot. Why did I work with these guys? And part of the scam was they would go to people and be like, look at all the good we're doing. We're representing the victims of Jeffrey Epstein. You need to give us money. So unfortunately, the Epstein case, including the work that Brad Edwards was doing, was going towards this. But that is what happened. And after that, he left. There's no proof of that any evidence was fabricated, but she is spinning a whole thing about how Brad Edwards was part of this evil law firm, and they were just making up evidence in order to do this scheme. Which, I mean, it makes sense that she would do this. And at the time, Epstein's lawyers sued the fuck out of this law firm and Rothstein, Rosenfeld, and Adler, because of this, but they lost. They didn't win. But it was just a really inconvenient moment that really hurt the case against Epstein. The FBI gets a call in October of 2009 from Brad Edwards. He allegedly tells him that he's come across a piece of evidence that belongs to Epstein that contains a list of all his clients and victims, underage girls, massage therapists, and the men who are having sex with them. And Brad Edwards, becomes a cooperating witness. Leah Safian, the lawyer, interrupts, confidential informant, confidential informant for them, and in a sting operation obtains the list from a former butler of Epstein's called Alfredo Rodriguez. It becomes evidence in the civil suit. Sorry, I got to work on my accent here. Yeah, so that is true. That is true that Alfredo Rodriguez stole the book, the Epstein's Black Book, the famous Black Book, and he stole it from Epstein. It was apparently his insurance policy, but he's very stupidly tried to sell it to Brad Edwards, and Brad Edwards was like, "That's illegal. You're not allowed to sell evidence for a criminal trial to me. Do not do that. It's illegal." And at least according to his book, he was like, "Don't do it, man," and he did it. He got it, but it was a sting operation, and they ended up arresting Alfredo, but he got the book off of him. And Alfredo, this is always an insane stat. Alfredo, how much time did he do in jail? His prison sentence was 18 months in prison. That's longer in jail than Jeffrey Epstein got for, running a vast pedophile sex trafficking network. Little fun facts about this thing. Alfredo Rodriguez, and he gave them so much stuff. So this book, actually, I took a quote from Relentless Pursuit, Brad Edwards' book. I took a quote from that about this. So this is what he said about the book. This document really was the Holy Grail. It was 97 pages of typed names and phone numbers, including nearly 100 victims of sexual abuse listed in the document under the heading massage, which certain designated geographical locations, including Florida, New Mexico, New York, and Paris. Many of my clients and their telephone numbers were listed, including those of Jean-Luc Brunel, Ghislaine Maxwell, Donald Trump, Les Wexner, and Alan Dershowitz. In addition, as he had promised me, Alfredo had circled the names of others who he claimed were involved with or had knowledge of the sexual molestation operation. I wasn't in the room when the FBI takedown occurred, so I'm sure to this day of the discussion they had deciphering Alfredo's handwritten marks on the document. But several of the names of those I'd suspected and whom I'd subpoenaed months prior were circled. So that is close to that is almost a client list. It's a list of people who Alfredo Rodriguez claimed were involved with or had knowledge of the sexual molestation campaign operation. And yes, Mark J7 828. One of the interesting people Rodriguez circled was Courtney Love. That is true. And in the massage section for California, after one of the girls' numbers, it says Courtney Love. Oh, it does. I didn't even notice that. Okay, well, I actually have the link later on. I have it. here. So yeah, I mean, we don't need to go through the entire book because it's like, I don't know, 95 pages. But you can scroll through. Flavio Briatore circled, Brunel Jean-Luc. So he circled stuff. He also wrote some notes and put stars and arrows and shit in the book. This, by the way, what you're looking at is the unredacted version that we've had. So it has all the phone numbers. The version that the Trump White House released is the Epstein files were like document release #1. It was this, but all of the numbers were censored out. Yeah, if you guys are curious, if you want to go through it, this is from a website that's run by a QAnon guy, but this is the actual document. So don't mind that. And I like the website because it lets you search names in the document. But what I really want to show you is, oh, here's another one. What was it? Peter Soros. Peter Soros is in there. Okay, we'll get more into the book in a second, but let's just go to the end here. So the very end, there's some handwritten notes, right? So here's visitor's massage. Is this the part where you're saying it says Courtney Love's name? In the massage section for California. Oh, you're saying in the massage section in the book, not I like how he circled Jeffrey Epstein's name. He's like, this guy is important. This guy's important. Bill Richardson circled. He's one of the people Virginia Giuffre accused of whatever. I mean, we could spend a whole stream going through this, looking at all the circled people. Maybe we should do that at some point. But here's an interesting page too. Important email addresses. So look at this. 1 star next to Jeffrey Epstein's name. 3 stars next to Ghislaine Maxwell's name. Okay, so this dude, Rodriguez, definitely thought that Ghislaine Maxwell was an important person here who either participated in the abuse or knew it. Listed a bunch of people here. Joe Pagano, important witness. Jean-Luc Brunel, also 3 stars next to his name. He also died in prison, committed suicide in prison. David Copperfield is named here. This part always creeps me out. Ava Anderson, former model and mother of Naked Pick. So that's Ava Anderson Dubin, one of the Dubins. David Cook, witness. Oh, I think this might be the cook. I think this might be the cook. One of the 2 cooks who we know of. Or maybe it's a guy named David Cook. But apparently I remember Virginia saying we would walk around the house naked. Like we were underage girls walking around the house naked. And the cook would every day. Like I knew him, like he knows what was going on there, like blah, 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 blah. And that lines up with this, interacted and chatted daily with underage girls. Witness, he says. But the cooks have always claimed that they weren't a part of it. And we didn't do anything. If you didn't know about it. This guy, Adam Perry Lang, this is a celebrity chef. This guy, he runs like a famous barbecue restaurant. He's best friends with Jimmy Kimmel, apparently. Let me look up his Kimmel stuff. Yeah, so here he is with Jimmy Kimmel. This is another one of Epstein's chefs. And he talks about where did you learn how to do barbecue? Well, I had a very rich employer who had me working on a ranch. And I talked to the people on this New Mexico ranch and blah, 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 blah. And he just never mentioned that was Epstein's Zorro Ranch. He just never mentioned that. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy? And he's never come forward to do anything. And it's like, fuck you, dude. Like, you have information and you are like ashamed, but like still here he is on the Jimmy Kimmel show. Yeah, he's a celebrity chef. Apparently he makes really good barbecue, but he knows about barbecue. He learned at the property that Epstein bought so that he could impregnate a bunch of young models and seed the world with his DNA. That's crazy. Here's another shot of him on the Jimmy Kimmel show. All right, I got really sidetracked there. This black book with a bunch of circled names and a bunch of underlined names, this is where the idea of a client list came from. She's saying that Rothstein's firm asked her then boyfriend, which would have been Ted Waite, for $10 million. That's an allegation of blackmail. I'm not sure if that's been proven. That's crazy if they did that. Also, this is funny. She's talking about Ted Waite. I now know that the base of this story, Ghislaine voice, was the blackmail of a billionaire because Ted Waite was a multi-billionaire. He had everything. He was way, way more wealthy than Epstein, if anyone cares. Like, what a weird thing to say. He was above, by the way, you think Epstein was rich? Epstein was very broke compared to my next boyfriend, Ted Waite. Oh my goodness, he was really rich. So there's a metamorphosis of that list. The original statement Brad Edwards makes in the documents contemporaneously is that it's pieces of paper Alfredo has. Then Alfredo took a book, Alfredo took from Epstein's computer, but there's no computer I know. Certainly not in 2005 when this was allegedly taken. That only came out as a book. Talk about, right? Like, we can't trust everything that she says, but at least the broad shape of this idea that the concept of an Epstein client list came from Alfredo's shit, I think that is cool. And so she explained it, and so I'm reading this, I'm like, oh, that's really interesting. That actually makes sense. And then Todd Blanche is like still confused. He's not following this. But the list itself, yes. Where is it? No, Todd, you silly simpleton. There is no list. But Brad Edwards said that he created the list. So that's what I was a little confused about. Sorry. Okay, he created a list. Alfredo Rodriguez produced. They became evidence. Exhibit 52 in my trial has markings all over it, circles and dots and whatnot. And Brad Edwards says that he got Alfredo Rodriguez to mark up the book of all the people who were involved. It includes Alan Dershowitz, for the record, who's marked. I don't remember what it says about Donald Trump. I don't know. You'd have to look. I don't have it. That part is very funny because she knows Donald Trump is the main guy she's trying to keep happy here. It includes Alan Dershowitz, for the record, who's marked. I don't remember about Trump. Well, I remember about Trump. Here is the part with Trump. And as you can see, he is circled as someone who either participated in the sexual assault of minors or witnessed it. That is what Alfredo Rodriguez was trying to say. Yes. And Ghislaine and Jean-Luc Pournel, the two most important people, according to Alfredo Rodriguez, for Brad Edwards to reach out to. Like, these are important email addresses. These are the people you need to talk to. 1 star next to Epstein, 3 next to Ghislaine. Like, that says it all. That says it all right there. Todd interrupts her right as she's saying something interesting. Just to finish it off, there's a note. I have some papers for you if you wanted them. Where Brad Edwards says he has a list of 25 men that he got money off. And then he interrupts her. So, okay. So the list of everybody, the black book, your exhibit 52 from the trial. And it's just like, no, what the fuck is she talking about there? Brad Edwards, there's a note she has. She had some papers for you. Get the fucking papers, man. Like, what are you doing? He keeps interrupting her. Yeah, just another shut the fuck up, Todd moment. During that time you were with Mr. Epstein, even in the 2000s, you never observed or you never saw any sort of list or black book. So he's still asking about it, and she still says no. He asks her about the birthday book, which has become the thing. I know somebody was mentioning that in the chat here. That this is why, Trump is suing Murdoch for $10 billion, which doesn't mean anything. Trump will sue anyone who says anything negative about him, even if he knows 100% he'll lose the case. That's just what he does. That's his move. But yes, he is doing that. I believe that's I heard. That was still in process. They're talking about the birthday book. They talk a lot about the birthday book, and we don't really learn anything interesting. We learn the sizes of it. We learn, why Ghislaine had the idea for it. It's because her mom made one for her dad and she thought it was a good idea. Like, we learn a bunch of stuff about the specific process of making this book. She does not give us any names. And they talk about it for pages and pages and pages and pages. So we're just going to skip over that. This one I was like, oh, Todd, why are you asking if she met Bill Gates? Did you meet Bill Gates over the years? But she actually says yes. And that surprised me because I thought that Bill Gates was a late in life Epstein friend, somebody who was friends with him after the first jail time, like after 2009 when he got out of jail, which he did. Bill Gates was one of his late in life friends. That's something to interest Bill Gates. Like a lot of big names dropped him, right? Like Trump wasn't hanging out with him after his jail sentence. Bill Clinton wasn't hanging out with him after that. But Bill Gates was. But anyway, so I wouldn't have expected Ghislaine to know him. But she actually says yes. Because of your relationship with Mr. Epstein or separate. That one, well, I met Mr. Gates. I went to TED conference. I went to TED conference and I actually spoke at the TED conference. Brag, brag, brag. Do you know whether Mr. Gates traveled with Mr. Epstein on his plane? So if that friendship was after, that it was in the late 2000s. So if I met him, like I said, I went to Epstein's house maybe once or twice. Maybe I met him there. I don't remember. So I wouldn't know if he'd been on Epstein's plane. And you don't recall ever being on the plane with him flying to the island or anywhere? No. But that is interesting. So she says she might have met him at Epstein's house. Now, okay, so I dug up like what we know about this. This is an article from 2001 that actually To the Finland Station sent me the other day. coincidentally, Andrew's fixer, reject. And in this article, it's talking about Epstein. Epstein was a guest at the Queen's birthday party. Sorry, I can't zoom in anymore. But Epstein was a guest at the Queen's birthday party at Windsor and traveled with Ghislaine to Andrew's country weekend at Sandringham before Christmas. He has made many millions out of his business links with the likes of Bill Gates, Donald Trump, and Ohio billionaire Leslie Wexner, whose trust he runs. This was an article from 2001 that says that he had been working with Bill Gates. Isn't that weird? So I think this is by far the earliest indication we have that Epstein was hanging out with Bill Gates. But here is another article that dug into his links with Epstein through a woman named Melanie Walker. So Melanie S. Walker actually met Epstein at a party with Donald Trump, and she was looking to get into a career in modeling. And he was like, I'll help you. I'll be your mentor. And then he was like, actually, you're too smart. Don't get into modeling. Go to school or something. So she became a neuroscientist and neurosurgeon who became a top advisor to Bill Gates at his foundation, and then became a senior advisor at the World Bank. So some high-level evil shit here. But she is apparently the person who introduced Jeffrey Epstein to Donald Trump. Yada, yada, yada. This is when they met. She found herself in Seattle for the first time he orbited Bill Gates. But she apparently, at least as far as we know, didn't introduce him to Bill Gates until 2006. But along with this article and our new, interview with Maxwell, it seems possible, I think there's a bit of corroborating evidence here that Bill Gates was in the Epstein world a little bit earlier than we previously thought. Weird. Did Ghislaine know Reid Hoffman? Yes. Did Jeffrey Epstein know Reid Hoffman? No. Blah, 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 blah. After Mr. Epstein was charged, did you have conversations with him? He never talked to me about it. So this doesn't make sense because she said earlier the only time she talked to Epstein was, you had phone calls with him on occasion? Yes, I certainly did. Whenever there was any legal drama or the like, serious press attention, I always tried to call him to figure out what was going on. And then later she's like, no, he never talked to me about his legal drama. So I just kind of noted that what? That goes against what you said an hour ago. Oh, this is good. This is good. Todd Blanche. So I'm going to ask you questions. You shouldn't read into them. I just want to know whether they resonate with you. Have you ever had any contact with any representative that you know of from Mossad, the Israeli intelligence agency? Great question, right? Ghislaine, could you ask me that question again? Okay. Has ever had any contact with an individual that you understand to be from Mossad, an Israeli intelligence agency? Ghislaine's answer, well, not deliberately. Todd Blanche, pardon me? Ghislaine, not deliberately. Crazy answer. What is this? Some kind of a spy movie? I mean, I guess she had interactions with her father, who was at least tangentially connected to Mossad, even if he wasn't an agent. She doesn't straight up say no, which she often does when she's lying. She often lies and says, no, never any of that. But no, that is a weird thing, eh, Mark? J7828, it is weird. But I feel like it's kind of a push and pull situation with the Trump base, where it's a lot of them are very paranoid about Mossad and want to link Epstein to Mossad, but also we don't want to do anything that's too anti-Israel. They're speaking to their paranoid base, right? That's why they're asking questions like that, like JFK Jr. shit. So she's had interactions with Mossad, but then he goes, okay, but I don't really care about you. So what about Mr. Epstein? Was he getting money from any intelligence agency, including Mossad? Ghislaine, well, I don't believe so, but I wouldn't know. I mean, I'd be very surprised if he did. I don't think so. No. Okay. Anyway, I thought that was a weird moment. Not deliberately. What an answer. This part, so here's an example of what I'm saying, where he shies away from getting too into the Israel stuff. Oh, he goes, we talked about a lot of names. Are there any other foreign nationals? Right now we talked about some British, the royal family, maybe high society folks in Britain. Was there any other international businessmen or politicians that had a very close relationship with Mr. Epstein? And then he lets her get one name out. Off the top of my head, I think of Ehud Barak. And then he shifts it. He goes, and by the way, you mentioned Epstein started taking testosterone in the late 90s. You don't take any other drugs? And I'm like, dude, so this is again, I think this is the fourth time he's done this. You just asked her to list people. You let her say one name, no follow-up questions. And then you asked him about the fucking the steroids that Epstein was taking. What the fuck, dude? Weird. He's he would always much prefer to ask her his list of names than hear her list. It's so annoying. But here's another poll for the conspiracy minded about you. I'm sure a lot of you guys in chat know about Donald Barr and his novel Space Relations. Space Relations. So this is a science fiction novel written by Donald Barr, who was a member of the OSS, also the headmaster or principal or whatever at Dalton School, the New York prestigious high school that Jeffrey Epstein taught at. It's also the high school from Woody Allen's movie Manhattan. It's the high school that the girl that Woody Allen's character is dating attends. Fucking Woody Allen's a whole other case. But Donald Barr, not only was he a headmaster, and he's also Bill Barr's father. That's right. Yes, WBG. William Barr's pappy. Yeah, that's right. So he wrote this book. It's called Space Relations, and it's about a science fiction book where these guys go to space and they find teenagers to turn into sex slaves. And it was not a very successful book until the Epstein case brought new attention to it. And now you cannot find a copy of it. Very rare. If you see a copy of this thing at like a thrift shop or something, or, a secondhand bookstore, pick that shit up. That you could get like a few $100 for that on eBay. This is one of those things that I've always been kind of like, yeah, that's weird, but like, I don't know. I don't read too much into this. This is a little bit tinfoil hat for me. In the future, humans have formed an intergalactic empire ruled by aristocrats. During a time of war with the Plith, an empire of ant-like bug people, Ambassador John Craig, a formerly liberal Earthman in his 30s, is dispatched to the strategically important planet Kosar, a human colony that was settled by the Carlisle Society as a place of exile for political extremists and is now ruled by an oligarchical high society of 7 nobles, each of whom is in charge of a different domain with its own traditions. Their boredom and absolute power have driven them to madness, to the point that the Kosars, yada, yada, yada. Wait, no, I didn't want to go back. I was trying to zoom in. Sorry. Sometimes it's hard to zoom in, but I know it's like impossible to read when I'm zoomed in. For you guys, I mean, I can read it just fine. I got good eyes. I want to get to the part about the sex slaves. Ah, yes. While en route to Kosar, one of the pirates awakened Craig and the other prisoners to rape a 15-year-old virginal redheaded female captive in front of them. The fellow pirates later hear of this and dock his pay as punishment for spoiling her market value. Craig then spent 2 years as a slave of the beautiful, sensual, and sadistic Lady Morgan Sidney, the only female member of the oligarchy with whom he became, well, that's lucky for him, with whom he became romantically involved. Together they lived in her castle, ruling over and engaging in sexual relations with those under their dominion, including an enslaved teenager at a clinic used to breed enslaved people. This is like a horny-ass book, Jesus. When Craig stumbles on hints of an alien invasion, he realizes he must escape to save humanity. That's when he realizes he must escape to save humanity? Okay. Craig is depicted as undisturbed by Lady Morgan's sadism. When he's ordered to sexually assault the enslaved teenager, he enjoys the act. What the hell? That is so weird. Okay. Excuse me. I haven't read this shit in a while, but yeah, that escalated. But a lot of people read a lot into this. This is from 1973. This is long before Epstein was literally a high school teacher at the time. To me, this is a very tinfoil hat aspect of the thing, but other people may disagree, including Todd Blanche. Do you know someone named Donald Barr? Ghislaine? No, I can represent to you, was a former headmaster of the Dalton School, which you mentioned earlier. Do you remember any conversation with Epstein about a book that Mr. Barr wrote called Space Relations? I've never heard of that. About aliens and sex? Okay. No. Do you know whether, well, have you ever met the former Attorney General of the United States, Bill Barr? No. Do you remember whether Mr. Epstein knew him or whether his name came up in conversations you had with Mr. Epstein? I don't recall any. This one is just insane. Did Bill Barr have anything to do with Epstein's deal in Florida? No one thinks this. No one thinks this. He asks, did you ever hear that Bill Barr had any role in Mr. Epstein getting a good plea deal in Florida or any role in that process with Mr. Acosta? I was just like, what? I've never heard about that either. Bill Barr, the comedian? No, that's Bill Burr. That's Bill Burr. Please don't get them confused. Bill Barr. Let me get you a picture. This was Trump's attorney general. He was for first term. This guy is like an unspeakably evil man in my estimation. His name is highlighted here because you might notice I have like a lot of people's names come up highlighted and things come up highlighted when I'm studying. I have like some automatic things. This is actually not an Epstein connection highlight. This is a Opus Dei highlight. This William Barr is an Opus Dei guy. The Opus Dei is like, my understanding of Opus Dei anyway, is that they're basically like if the Illuminati was real. They are a secret society formed in fascist Spain that's bent on turning the world into like a fascist, Christo-fascist fucking hellscape. And William Barr is like one of their boys. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Todd Blanche goes, for any of the names that we've talked about today, tomorrow we'll talk some more. Do you recall having any conversations with anybody else where they reported to you that they'd seen something that one of these individuals had done, whether it's someone else that works with Mr. Epstein or somebody that observed something? Ghislaine, if anyone had ever reported anything, first of all, the answer to that is no. So spoiler alert, anytime he asks her if she saw anything or if she noticed anyone doing abuse, no. Ghislaine didn't see anything. She was the interior decorator. She didn't do anything wrong. And if she had, and then this sums it up too. So I just want to be crystal clear that if anyone ever reported anything illegal or disgusting like that, I would have immediately done something. And I never heard it. I never saw it. And no one ever complained to me or tears. Nothing like that. So again, if you saw the last stream, she's like, and I never saw tears, which means that there couldn't have been anything wrong. If they weren't crying, then they must have liked it, basically, is what she's saying. This is a funny, dumb blonde moment from Todd Blanche. So Mr. Epstein and his death. So you are not, obviously, at the Metropolitan Correctional something. You weren't in jail with Epstein at that time, correct? I was not. Like, why would you ask that? Was he trying to, like, did he forget that they don't have co-ed maximum security prisons? Very funny. Did Epstein kill himself? Based on my personal knowledge of him, what I've read and what I've experienced from Bureau of Prisons. Oh yeah. So this is another interesting question. He asks her, you're going to tell us what you believe about whether or not Epstein killed himself. I just want to make sure I understand your basis for this belief is kind of what you've read and seen and your knowledge of Mr. Epstein for the many years you knew them. Right? Because you weren't there the night that he died, but you just kind of know him really well. And Ghislaine goes, and actually there's a third component. And the answer to that is yes. There's a third component to that, which is having experienced now the mismanagement and inefficiencies and total dereliction of duty at the Bureau of Prisons. Todd, but do you think that the third point you say was kind of failure by the BOP? There's been a lot of, there's no IG report, blah, 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 blah. So do you think he did not die by suicide given all the things we've talked about? Ghislaine, I do not believe he died of suicide, no. And so, okay, so interesting, she thinks he didn't kill himself. But she goes on a little bit. She's like, in prison where I am, they'll kill you or they'll pay. Somebody can pay a prisoner to kill you for $25 worth of commissary. That's how the going rate for a hit with a lock today. So she thinks he was killed by like another prisoner. And somebody paid $25, handful of cigarettes. And Todd Blanche kind of pries more. So do you think there was somebody on the outside of prison who wanted him dead so badly? He or she could have been either one of the Clintons, caused him to be killed on the inside. Ghislaine Maxwell, I don't see that. I think, is it possible? Of course it's possible, but I don't know of any reason why. I don't believe this. I don't think Epstein had a hit on like that. If it is indeed murder, I believe it was an internal situation. So she thinks he was murdered, but it was just somebody who, like, I don't know, like, who he looked at wrong in the prison. Like, it had nothing to do with blackmail or any powerful person outside of prison. It was fully an internal thing. So I don't know of anybody else who believes that about Epstein's death. That's a new one for me. She's more and more trying to impress upon you. She had nothing to do with any of the child abuse. She goes, by the way, I don't find, how do I say this? I like people who are my age or older. I don't find the society of the companionship of younger people who are young people, I suppose, is really that enjoyable. So I don't like the company that he chose to be with. And I find it boring and fundamentally uninteresting. And that's probably the nicest way I can say it, which is interesting. I mean, she hired a bunch of dog walkers and like butlers and stuff, right? This was long after she was with Epstein. This is like in the 2010s and teens. Always hired young Swedish men, young blonde Swedish men, specifically Swedish, which is odd. Mr. Alps Joe, this is one of her dog walker. Yeah. He met Maxwell through a friend in Sweden who told him he was going to New York to work for lady. She likes to have young Swedish men in her house doing stuff for her, getting her coffee and looking after her dogs. That's all he told me. I thought, well, that sounds awesome. The friend said that when his 3 months were up, they would need a new guy because all the guys who've been there look like tall blue eyes. There's a bunch of people that they've interviewed, people who worked for Ghislaine Maxwell, and it's all like Scott Borgerson, Rasmus Alpsjo. It's all these like I don't know how you say that, but they're all Swedish. Weird. Anyway, just like a little weird thing. Okay, so this is the end of day one. Don't worry, day two is a lot shorter. So this is the end of day one. The very last thing she says, she goes, "May I say something, Todd?" Of course, yes. I would just like to put out there that I also focused on how I think the president got into some of this unnecessarily, by the way. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist, and I certainly don't subscribe to all of everything that I see. I like that. That is such a funny way to put it. And I certainly don't subscribe to all of everything that I see. Like, there's a lot of things that look bad for Trump. Like, for example, everything that I see personally. But I do believe there's animus in some areas that may have contributed to how the use of the president to harm him that I find deeply offensive. And whilst I can't obviously say definitively that it is what it is, I'd like to show you what I see so that you can evaluate it and do with that as you see fit. If it needs to be addressed, I've seen it, it struck me, and I'd like to give it to you. Sure, for what it's worth. Okay. Does that seem something that I can? Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, of course. I don't like that. Okay, yeah, that's fine. That's great. Okay, so why don't we stop for today? That's the end. Like, this is what does she mean here? I would like to give it to you for what it's worth. Does that seem like something I can? Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Like, I get the feeling that there's something unspoken that's been promised to her. Like, I think she knows very clearly what the score is. And I think her lawyers know too. And I have more evidence for that, which we'll get into. Day two, Todd comes in the next day. He has her initial document that she signed yesterday, which I don't think that we got a recording of her signing it. Don't know what that document is. I tried to find it, but no. So the first day, Ghislaine said, "No, I've never hired someone from Mar-a-Lago to be a masseuse," even though that's like Virginia Giuffre's very clear origin and story in the Epstein saga, where she's like, we know she worked for Mar-a-Lago. We know she was a locker room attendant there. We know that she eventually became associated with Epstein. She says that Ghislaine met her at Mar-a-Lago, and we know Ghislaine went to Mar-a-Lago all the time. We know Ghislaine was looking for masseuses. So anyway, like, it seems very bizarre that to think that Virginia would make this up. But Ghislaine this day goes, "So I believe I said I couldn't think of anybody who I may have asked from Mar-a-Lago, but I realized that the allegation at least is that I met Virginia in Mar-a-Lago. And so I felt that I needed to address that. And I didn't want to leave that hanging because it seems weird under the circumstances. And also, but I couldn't remember anyone, but it's a very long period of time. So the issue is not that I'm trying to not say, but I just don't remember anybody that I would have. Was that asked somebody from there?" And Todd Blanche, I don't know exactly what you said yesterday, but I don't think what you said yesterday is different than what you just said. No, Todd, it is different, because yesterday you asked if she'd ever recruited someone from Mar-a-Lago, and she said no, and then you were like, well, why don't we take a break? Instead of being like, what about Virginia? Bro. And he's like, isn't that what you said yesterday? No, dude. Like, I was like yelling at my screen when you refused to ask that follow-up question. So this guy just doesn't know what he's doing. Some of it I think is malicious. Some of it I think he's like trying to lead her and like, take her down certain pathways. No, that's like not what was happening here. Okay. Ghislaine was asked about banking records. So this is interesting. And this part, if you want to see Todd Blanche stick to a point, not let Ghislaine get off topic, he keeps asking her, she keeps avoiding. He's like, no, don't avoid this. I want to know what the fuck is going on with this $30 million that Jeffrey Epstein sent you, because what you told us about what Jeffrey Epstein gave you does not make sense with that. What was that 30 million? So he goes like, it's totally something like 30 million. What was that money? What was that for? Well, first of all, I dispute the characterization that the money was sent to me. I believe I don't have a full recollection. I'm not even sure what they accused me of, but my belief is that money also contained money that was for a helicopter, for instance, that I never owned, and it was never mine. And in other words, money was sent to you that you then used to purchase things. Well, I'm not even sure that I purchased it. So those accounts will be controlled by his accountants. And Todd Blanche, even accounts in your name, you're saying, or one of your entities. Well, I'm not even sure I knew all the entities. Maybe I did contemporaneously, but I just simply wouldn't know. But this is a little bit different though, because they're saying $30 million went into your account. It didn't go into like the Ghislaine Corporation or whatever. It went into your account. So it goes on, and Ghislaine keeps trying to get off topic, and he just won't let her. I was doing really, really well. And so he was like, how do you do that? She's talking about stock market. She made a bunch of money in the stock market, apparently. And he was like, how do you do that? Well, what are you investing in? I don't know. Apple, when nobody liked Apple. This is, before Apple and Microsoft. I didn't know Bill Gates. This is not related to him. And then David Marcus, her lawyer, don't charge her with insider training. Ghislaine Maxwell, please, no, I'm not trying to suggest that. Oh, goodness, please, no. I had no... David Marcus, it was just a joke. Ghislaine, okay. Todd Blanche, it was a joke? Ghislaine, yeah, no, all right. Weird joke. This is again part of this same whole discussion about where Ghislaine got all this money or why Epstein was paying her for all this. I also want to clarify something for you, clarify or underline. That's Les Wexner, the L Brands guy, the Victoria's Secret guy, in my opinion, his closest friend in this time period, from when I met him in 91, right? All the way till I don't know. Because it wasn't that friendly with what I did, blah, 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 blah. Who cares? Jeffrey Epstein told people to lie. And she's going, and you know what? He didn't even like me. And he told people to lie about me. There's some indications he would actively tell other people to lie to me or to conceal things from me. And he never loved me and I wasn't his type. That's in Discovery somewhere. Yeah. I mean, seems that Ghislaine was a lot more into Epstein than he was into Ghislaine. Ghislaine was like obsessed with Epstein. When there was testimony or the government admitted evidence that showed, for example, $5 million in 2002 coming from Epstein to you. So again, he's still on this. What you're saying is that, that may have happened, but that he wasn't giving you money. It doesn't even make sense. Ghislaine, I'm not going to say that for everything, because maybe there were accounts that money was sent to me, but I can say that I know, like the helicopter, I can definitely say. I have to look at all of them to be accurate for you. And so, and that's millions of dollars. How much is a fucking helicopter? $30 million for a helicopter seems like too much. Oh yeah, no, yeah, that's great. That's a great point, DM Collins. Even if Maxwell wants to say Virginia Giuffre is a total liar, yeah, in September 2002, she paid for her to fly to Thailand to go to a massage school. That is how she escaped, right? Massage school? I think she was going to massage school and she was going to recruit someone from there. But Todd Blanche is trying to figure this out. And he's like, so when he financed stuff with you, would he send money to you? I think it does. For instance, there were 2 Gullwing Mercedes that they did with Mercedes and Aston Martin. You can look it up, I think, okay. So the government had evidence that even as late as 2007, he paid you a lot of money. 2007, it's like when he got out of jail. What was that? What was the money? Like several millions of dollars in 2007. 7.4 million, I think. And what was that for? Was that the helicopter? Todd, that's my question for you. Oh, sorry. He's like, oh, and why did he do that? What did I spend that on? Yeah, I don't know. That's a great question, Ghislaine. So you'd have to trace that, right? So I don't believe that came into my account or I had any control. I had no memory of that. I have no. But if there's records that show it coming into your account, it sounds like what you're saying is that not putting aside you have no memory of that money being yours. No, you didn't. That money is not somewhere. No, I wouldn't be like, oh, yippee, let me go. I've got $7 million going to go buy myself a yacht. No, I don't know, something else, or move it to some other. No. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I think and you can tell I'm cutting out big sections here. I'm just kind of putting in to give you a sense here. They're still talking about this $7 million. Oh, $7 million in when? What year? Well, those several years. In 2007 and 2002, there was $5 million you were paid in 2002. Oh, well, I don't remember, but okay. So there'd have to be another large sum, but it wouldn't come from him later. It had nothing to do. Well, the biggest one was in 1999. That's over 18 million. I don't know what that is. Really? You don't remember any of this? So what? But what you're saying, it sounds like if you don't know, we can move on. But we're talking about 18.3 million in 99, 5 million 3 years later in 2002, 7.4 million in 2007. That money adds up to around $30 million. You were not paid that by Mr. Epstein, meaning that's not money you received for your benefit, even if it was put into your accounts. I don't believe any of that was my money. If somebody asked me, what's this $7 million that you got last year? I wouldn't be like, I don't believe. I'd be like, I definitely did not get that. I have not got $7 million my entire life. That is not something that I got. But she's just like, no, I don't think so. $30 million doesn't ring a bell. What? So she's still not really answering. But this is by far the longest he grills her. This is the only time really that he kind of is grilling her on anything. What I'm trying to make sure I understand is that the idea that you were paid $30 million between 1999 and 2007 in order to, by Mr. Epstein, to reward you for recruiting young women, that is you're saying that is categorically completely false. That is categorically false. Correct. So he's sort of leading her. He's like, okay, I guess this was a good answer to this for you. So again, he decides he's going to list more names for her. And here we go. Somebody was talking about Elon Musk earlier. Elon Musk. Do you know Elon Musk? I do. And how'd you meet Mr. Musk? I met him in, I don't remember the year, but it's going to be in 2010, 11, something like that. And I was at an event for Sergey Brin, the co-founder of Google. And Sergey had arranged for, it was his birthday. And we were, a bunch of us, I don't even remember how many we were, but not many of us. Maybe, I don't know, if I say 40, I could be wrong. It was 30 or 50, I don't remember, I'm sorry. We went to another friend's island, somebody called Mr. Pagosi in the Caribbean, and not with Epstein, he was not there, to celebrate Sergey's birthday. And we were there together for, I want to say, 3 or 4 days. Something like that in my memory. And Mr. Musk was present for that. And then he goes, did you know his brother, Mr. Musk's brother? Which is a better question. Because Kimball Musk did apparently was getting hooked up with women by Epstein. So at this part, they talk for a long time about Bill Clinton. She says that she was on a trip with Clinton and Doug Band, but Epstein didn't come on with her. What was your role going on that trip? And she's sort of talking about, I think, the Africa trip. So in following the flights, the connections with Clinton and Maxwell, there does be a weird moment where it's was there a flight here? It seems like there's some evidence that Clinton and Maxwell took a flight to India together, but it wasn't on Epstein's jet for some reason. And of course, this was around the time period that, I think a lot of people generally agree. This is Vicky Ward's hypothesis when she put out her Chasing Ghislaine audible, exclusive podcast, that the 2000s were a time when Ghislaine was trying to leave Epstein's orbit, and she became more and more involved with Bill Clinton in his orbit, and that helped her to escape from Epstein. A little bit of a spinning the narrative of Ghislaine as a victim here, but which I don't buy into at all. But I do think that it does seem true that she was leaving his orbit around this time. But there's a moment where it's she's flying with them on all these flights around the world for the Clinton Foundation, and then there's a flight to India where there's some leaked email that says that Ghislaine and Bill Clinton would require visas for their flight to India, and they're taking it. It wasn't on the Lolita Express, and so she sort of hints towards it here. I think this is the part. There's a lot about Bill Clinton. I've talked about a lot of Bill Clinton stuff already in my Bill Clinton video. I don't really think there's much new stuff in here, but this part confirms something that I was only kind of sure about. It doesn't fully confirm it, but it's corroborates it. I started spending time with the former president, with Doug and his team, and then I had no purpose really, other than I'd obviously offered something. I don't know, ideas of. I don't know. Anyway, he started to travel. I don't remember the first trip was Africa, how it went, but at some point, I think there was actually 2 trips, but I'm not sure. So there was to Europe and then to Africa. I think maybe it was all one trip. And at some point, Mr. Epstein said he didn't want to go on the trip, and he was going somewhere else, and he just left. And I was like, well, okay. And so I ended up doing the whole trip without Mr. Epstein on his plane. And I think that's the one where she goes to India with Bill Clinton. This is funny. Did you ever meet Hillary Clinton? Yes. When did you meet her? I want to say, now please don't hold me to it, but I want to say that there was on a flight that came from the island. This is what she says. I want to say that it was on a flight that came from the island. And then she's suddenly not from the island, but from the Nantucket or Martha's Vineyard back to New York is what I think. I might be wrong. Okay, so and he's just Ghislaine, did you just say that you flew on a plane with Hillary Clinton from the island? You can't be saying stuff like that if you don't mean it. She also just goes, Clinton, the ex-president never came to the island. And that time she is talking about Jeffrey Epstein's island, not Martha's Vineyard. Is that the only time you met Hillary Clinton? No, I went to the house in Chappaqua a couple of times. Why'd you go to the house? I was invited. Goes on with that. They talk about the Clintons for quite some time. Not all of it is interesting, but another interesting thing is The Clinton Global Initiative, which was one of like Bill Clinton's big legacies after his time in office, because people really didn't like Clinton after he was president. People were pissed at him. Excuse me, and he wanted to rehabilitate his image. And Doug Band, his right-hand man, helped him to create the Clinton Global Initiative, which is basically like Davos, but more Clinton-centered. Yeah, I also mix up the word island and Martha's Vineyard a lot. Yeah. To be fair, Martha's Vineyard is an island, but did you know whether Mr. Epstein did any business transactions with the Clintons? I'm not sure I can. I'm not sure quite how to. I don't know the answer to that strictly because I was part of the beginning process of the Clinton Global Initiative. It's like, whoa, I do not think Bill Clinton wants you to be saying that. And that was something that I helped out with, and that was me, and Epstein may have helped me help them. And in that context, he may well have involved himself, but only in the context of something that I was trying to do. So here's a letter from Alan Dershowitz, or from Gerald Lefcourt or whatever, but it's like, by Alan Dershowitz and a bunch of Epstein's lawyers during the, 2006, 7, 8, 9, whatever. 2007, okay, it was this letter. And it's like a character kind of like, hey, this guy, like, don't worry about the young girls this guy's been caught like red-handed with. He's really important. He was actually involved in important stuff. And like one of the things is Mr. Epstein was part of the original group that conceived the Clinton Global Initiative, which is described as a project bringing together a community of global leaders to devise and implement innovative solutions to some of the world's most pressing challenges. Focuses of this initiative include poverty, climate change, global health, and religious and ethnic conflicts. So this is the Clinton Global Initiative. So apparently, according to this letter, Epstein was involved in starting that whole thing. But Ghislaine is like, no. I was the one it was basically my idea. She goes, listen, here's how I got the idea. I went to Davos with the former president and have you ever been to Davos? What a freaking chilling thing to say. Have you ever been to Davos? In what? Have you been to Davos? I have not. Oh, okay. Well, it's just like, why would Todd Blanche go to Davos? He's like a fucking sleazebag lawyer, like Donald Trump. He's not like, one of the global elites. Although, I mean, maybe he is now. I don't know. Okay, well, it's, what it is, right? Okay, so, I thought the former president should have his own Davos because I thought it would be, and it turned out that they'd been thinking about it anyway. And so we were talking about it, and it's a very heavy lift to get something like that to go. I was very friendly with one of the people who had, I don't even know if he was at the beginning of Davos, but he was running Davos. It was just, I don't know how to describe his actual role at Davos, and had conversations with him about what did he think, Oh, just because I was having dinner with him, and if Clinton could get something like that to go, what was his thoughts? And he was very, very enthusiastic. I mean, it was like, oh, that's just an incredible idea. So I put them together. What was that person's name? I knew you were going to ask me. I know his name. I can't remember. It will come to me. Anyway, that part doesn't really matter. I just think it's hilarious. She's like, no, I was the one who came up with the whole idea for the Clinton Global Initiative and helped them get it going. And then she's like, and Mr. Epstein, was he part of the work around that? Well, he supported me to help them, but then I think he may have tried to use that to insert himself in some way. That would not have surprised me at all. And I know that he was annoying in terms that I could catch him on the phone and he wouldn't always agree with what I wanted to do. What? And I was like, it's not your idea. I don't really care. What do you think? But that didn't go over so well. Anyway, I feel like my accent's getting worse. And then so she mentions the Todd Blanche. And by the way, like, in the middle of the night, last night, I was scribbling names that I couldn't remember from yesterday. Todd Blanche is like, yeah, doesn't follow up, doesn't ask her for names. So this is another thing with Virginia. Virginia is one of the three people who said that Bill Clinton went to the island. Another one was Doug Band, Bill Clinton's right-hand man, and another one was, what's his name? Steve Scully, I think his name is, the guy who did the tech support on the island, helped him get the Wi-Fi working. But Todd Blanche goes, you're not aware of President Clinton ever going to the island? He never, absolutely never went. And I can be sure of that because there's no way he would have gone. I don't believe there's any way he would have gone to the island had I not been there. Because I don't believe he had an independent friendship, if you will, with Epstein. Did they speak? Did he go? Yes, but that's funny too. She's like, did they speak? Did he go? Yes. But that's very different from going to spend time on an island. And plus, the story as told is so patently absurd that I flew him in a helicopter. And that is what Virginia claimed, that Ghislaine flew him and Secret Service to the island in the helicopter.
I've flown a helicopter. I'm a helicopter pilot. That is true. But the notion of me flying an ex-president in a machine, that would terrify me. I would have never even take that responsibility. Can you imagine? Yeah, no, I'm not. No.
Did you ever go with President Clinton to any of Mr. Epstein's property?
It's like New Mexico, Palm Beach, or New York. I have no memory of him in any of those places.
Well, here is a picture of Bill Clinton at the New York mansion with the fontanillas. You can see the little, and I've got my drawing thing here. I keep forgetting to use this. You can see the fireplace here. Yes, Bill Clinton did visit Epstein's properties. He did go to Epstein's properties. There are also some people who say they heard someone say that he was at the place in New Mexico. There's a lot of people saying that he was at the place in Mexico, but as far as I know, no one directly saw him there. They just heard from someone else. But there are several people who've done that. I remember I was like thinking about including that in my video about Epstein and Clinton, and I was just like, it's just not enough. Like if one person had said that I personally saw him there, I would have included that, but I don't think so. Yeah, that was I think his name's Steve Scully, something like that. Yeah, his Epstein's like tech support guy, I think, internet guy. He's in the documentary Filthy Rich. They like talk to him. He's like, yeah, I look over and there's Clinton laying out on the porch, and it's like, Ghislaine, do you find it so hard to believe that Clinton would ever hang out with Epstein? Like, Clinton and Epstein have a lot in common, and also Clinton is always hanging out with these fucking like rape billionaires, you know? Like all of his friends are like billionaires with accusations. It's like all that the only people he chills with. Anyway, they get back to Sarah Ferguson, Fergie, Duchess of York. I think that she liked Mr. Epstein. Why do you think that? My female intuition. Like, I don't know why this, but like, apparently this is important for them to get out that like, she thought that Sarah Ferguson had a crush on Epstein, and her lawyer is like interrupting and say, discovery, Ghislaine Maxwell. Oh, Leah Sufyan, the letter. I don't remember it, Todd Blanche. It's okay. Okay, it's possible that there's things, well, I know it's not possible. I know that there is discovery, but I don't recall. But I think she had a thing for him. But apparently, I mean, like, you know, no one says this outright, but reading between the lines here, based on when her lawyers are choosing to go in here and say discovery the letter, this leads me to believe that during Ghislaine's trial, there was a letter, some letter from Sarah Ferguson to Epstein saying like, hey, you're cute. I think you're kind of cute. I don't know. Weird little moment. Naomi Campbell. This doesn't really go anywhere, but Naomi Campbell certainly has a interesting connection here. This one pissed me off, and I think you guys might know why. George Soros. He's naming people. George Soros. Did Epstein know him? I don't think he knew him. I did, but I don't think he did. I don't think. Todd Blanche. How did you know Mr. Soros? I was friends with his kids. What? Which kids? John and I can't think of his other child. I've lost his name. Lawyer. Ghislaine's lawyer, Alexander. Who? Alexander. Yes, I met him, but just socially. He may not even remember even having met me. I was excited to meet him. When would you have met him? And I met him I think it was either at an event or at his kids'. It wouldn't have been at his house. An event, I think. Or I think actually, no, in the Hamptons I met him. He was staying at somebody's house, if my memory serves. And what was your relationship? How did you know his kids? I was out and about in New York a lot, so just socially, yes. And yeah, just socially, I think. Do you know whether Mr. Soros or his kids ever traveled on Mr. Epstein's planes? I don't think so. Ever visit the island or New Mexico or? No, I don't think so. Paris? No? Okay, so anyway, so this is another like right-wing conspiracy thing, right? Obviously, all the fucking right-wing guys are obsessed with George Soros. So of course they assume Soros is connected to Epstein in some way. But no, don't ask about George Soros. Don't ask about fucking, who does she say? Alexander Soros and John Soros. Ask about Peter Soros, another one of the names in Epstein's black book circled by Alfredo Rodriguez. That's the one you're gonna circle. But because fucking Peter Soros doesn't get like, Tucker Carlson doesn't talk about him, like, all these people are, nobody talks about Peter Soros. Because of that, he doesn't know to ask. He's just like, his research is that he fucking scrolled 4chan for a little bit or something. Like maybe he started like a thread. Hey, what's up, Paul? I got a chance to interview Ghislaine Maxwell, and I'm freaking out. Can anyone post questions I should ask her? Thanks. Whatever. Be me. It's like a green text. Be me. Be Trump's lawyer for the Stormy Daniels case. Suddenly find myself Deputy Attorney General. Now I have to interview Ghislaine Maxwell, and I really don't know anything about her. My face went. I don't know. So yeah, another fucking screw up. Are there some folks? So here we go. So this whole time she's been like, I have a list. I have more people. I have this. I have this. And he's like, finally, he's like, oh, are there any folks that you think we've forgotten to ask you about? Well, you asked me about names, and I have some names. I just want to give you some context for the names as well. So we talked about Elizabeth Johnson yesterday. That's from Johnson and Johnson. Elizabeth Johnson, who she said was one of Epstein's clients, his financial clients. Apparently, Epstein was doing financial work for her. Yes. Oh, yes. Peter Soros is the nephew of billionaire philanthropist George Soros and the son of the late Paul Soros, an engineer and philanthropist. Who's the one that Huma Abedin married? Huma Soros? She just married a Soros. Alex Soros. Yeah. Huma Abedin. I find this hilarious, by the way. The two of them married, and Abedin, like, was Hillary's, like, bag woman, bag lady, bag man, whatever you want to call it, like right hand person. And she was Hillary's Doug Band, essentially. And she is the subject of so many like conspiracies. People think she's in the Frazzle Drip video where her and Hillary Clinton supposedly cut off the face of a baby and wear it like a mask and whatever. Like she's Anthony Weiner's Anthony Weiner is her ex-husband, rather, who is like an actual pedophile. And then she divorces Anthony Weiner and she marries Alex Soros. And it's just like, wow, I guess you really, it almost seems like she got married just to like troll the conspiracy theorists. Like, it's sort of like if it's sort of like I can just imagine, like, I don't know. I almost want to see like the rom-com of this connection, like how they met and fell in love and whatever. Like, just imagine her like meeting with her friends at brunch. I mean, like, oh, I met this guy and he's really nice and like, he's rich and he's cute and really good chemistry, like got good texting chemistry. But like, I'm just worried because a lot of people think he eats children's blood and is a part of a satanic pedophile cult. I don't know. Am I really ready to date another guy who's the subject of all these conspiracies? Like, I just stopped working for Hillary. Is this right? It's like, but that relationship is very funny. Okay, moving on then. Are there some folks that you think we've forgotten to ask you about? So she does name some. She named Rick Fakai, who was a hairdresser and the husband of Elizabeth Johnson. And she seems to think like Frederick Fakai was a very close friend of Jeffrey Epstein in like the 80s and 90s. And I don't think I know who that is. Frederick Fakai. This guy. Okay. He's a hairdresser. And who is this? Oh no. Frederick Fakai and Victoria's Secret Oscar. So okay, so here he is at a Victoria's Secret party. So yeah, this guy definitely seems like he's a part of the, Les Wexner club here. I know DM Collins, Stephen Jay Gould. I know. Henry Jarecki. Don't know who that is either. Richard Branson. Oh yeah. Henry Jarecki, she says, and Richard Branson own islands near Epstein, island neighbors. So they would just visit each other on their islands. It's like when you have like a cottage neighbor or something, you're like, oh yeah, the guy lives next to me at the cottage. He's cool. He's a cool guy or whatever. I don't know, not that I have a cottage, but I imagine it's like that, but like an unfathomably wealthy version. She names Marvin Minsky again. I think this is so funny. Marvin Minsky, like this dude. So every time that Ghislaine has gotten to list people, she's listed Marvin Minsky. She was like, her first list, she's like, yes, here are his clients, Marvin Minsky. Her second list, she's like, here are his friends, Marvin Minsky. Here are the people I know got massages, Marvin Minsky. And then she names him again here, Marvin Minsky. It's like all 4 times that Ghislaine has the opportunity to give a list, she names this guy. And this is a guy from MIT, very, very famous dude, very big in the world of artificial intelligence. People call him the godfather of AI. In case you needed another reason to hate AI, this dude, 100%, like this guy's... And I think he was also accused of sexual assault by Virginia. Yeah, okay.
AI pioneer Marvin Minsky accused of sex with Epstein trafficking victim. Accusation was made by Virginia Giuffre. So yeah, this guy, like, there's zero chance this guy's innocent. I mean, I shouldn't say that. I guess I shouldn't say anything so definitive since there's all allegations. But yeah, I don't know. For him to, he was specifically named as Ghislaine was like, yeah, I know this guy got massages. Like, come on now. Martin Nowak, Stephen Jay Gould, who's actually legit, and Murray Gelman. So that sucks. That sucks about Stephen Jay Gould. But she does list him. I mean, hey, he's just friends. Doesn't mean, she didn't list him in all of the lists. She just lists him in one at the very end. But I mean, I don't know. Epstein did hang out with a lot of people from Harvard and MIT, so these are a lot of like, there, at least these last four, I think, are a lot of like the academic types and scientists who he would hang out with, particularly in the 2000s. After, when he was trying to rehabilitate his image, he became very involved. She talks about Wexner linking him up with Harvard. This is interesting. So he goes, where did Jeffrey Epstein's money come from? Did you ever get the sense while you were with him that it was suspicious or curious how he was able to have the funds to buy 2 planes, an island, a New Mexico ranch, almost unlimited funds? Ghislaine Maxwell, you said it perfectly. I thought it was astonishing, but I didn't have any reason to believe it came from anything nefarious. I saw him work. I never saw him really do anything other than be on the phone. There's that, and he had a lot of meetings, but he had a lot of accounts. So it's like, so this is the thing for me. Because it's like, where did Epstein get his money? On paper, like at least what Epstein would have us believe is he was doing work for all of these clients of his. He was helping them financially. He would, if people became a billionaire, they didn't know what to do with all their money, and they were still structuring their finances like they were only 100 millionaire. We come up and they don't know how to do that. So he would help them restructure their shit so that they were doing everything right. He was a financial bounty hunter. He was like, he would find people who'd had money embezzled from them, and then he'd track down where that money was, and he'd get it back, and he'd take a percentage of that stuff. He was doing this, he was doing that, he was helping them. He would get into the minutia of their business. He'd be like, okay, and how are you paying your maids, and how are you paying your, assistants, and how are you paying this, and how are you doing that, and how are you, like, he would get into all the little nitty gritty details. He would sit there with like the little glasses and like the visor and like the little, you'd be looking through these spreadsheets and be like, oh, look at that. That's going to be whatever, blah, blah, blah. You're going to save money there. Okay. Oh, and look at this. You accidentally did. Like, no way was he doing this. This guy was getting erotic massages from underage girls 3 times a day, every day for like at least a decade and a half. He was around the world, hanging out, vacationing, chilling on his island, and just never doing any work. And then so here she is, at least like I cannot even picture him working, right? But then she goes, I saw him work, which I'm like, oh, okay. And then she says, I never saw him really do anything other than be on the phone. There's that, and he had a lot of meetings, but he had a lot of accounts, right? Like, what? I'm so confused. He had a lot of meetings, and he dealt with pretty much every financier that you could care to mention. And if I could have access to the names, I'd be able to tell you which ones I just don't remember them all. But in every bank, Goldman, Lehman, all of them to my mind anyway, and most of the major businessmen at that time, he was in the Council of Foreign Relations, so he had access. So you had access. That's an extraordinary list of people. It just is. Yeah, he was on the Council of Foreign Relations. Crazy. That's a crazy one because Council of Foreign Relations has been a fucking conspiracy theory, conspiracy brained bugaboo, whatever, for like decades. Like the fucking, what's the guy's name that wrote Behold a Pale Horse? He talks about the Council of Foreign Relations. Anyway, Lynn Forster Rothschild's on that list too. And then he asked me about this, but I thought about it last night, how to try and explain what it was. And I think the best thing to do is focus only on Wexner's business. So I was present for some of their meetings and some of their business, and I listened. So things that I personally recollect, and I know I heard, was that he would, when I told you yesterday, I think that he would know detail was too small. So he would do the contracts with his staff, I think, and I also saw that myself. And he organized all the trusts for all the children. And so if Wexner had kids, and Wexner, I don't know if he did. He did have children. So every time there was a child, he'd create a trust for that child. And these are structures that would contain stocks of the various businesses. He restructured when I was there with Wexner's business in its entirety, as I recollect. And then not only that, but there were business interests. So Wexner owned a builder design, and I don't know how to characterize it, but New Albany, which is center outside of blah, 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 blah. He built a massive house. And he built all these houses around him, and I was like, this is so random. Oh my, OMG. Like, why would you do that? And he said to me, well, because I want to make sure that the people around me are my friends. I was like, well, whatever. Okay, weirdo. I've been around enormous wealth my whole life, and at some point I just say, okay, whatever. I get it and I don't. And so that's what we did. Anyway, she's getting off topic here. She's going on about all these different things he did, but she's just like naming all this shit that Les Wexner bought, and she's like, no, I mean, is there anything important here? She's just kind of rambling. I know this notion that there's this notion that he did nothing and he's just a grifter and whatnot. Like, that's what I think. That's the notion that I have. Okay, and I'm not going to say that's not true. Interesting. But it's just not what I saw, and it's not what I believe is true. Not because it couldn't have been true, that he didn't grift, or whatever the word is, off people, but I saw where I thought looked like real work. And so this is so interesting. And of course, Todd Blanche is like, well, why don't we take a break? And then they just never come back to it. But yeah, like that's a little interesting little part there. Here's a funny Todd Blanche moment. Ghislaine, so let's start. I want to define anyone who's underage versus anybody who's overage, because I do think there's a very significant differential between the two. I say that because that's different than whether they were sexually abused anyway. So he's asked her this question in so many different ways during this, but he asked her, like, did you not know that any of these women were underage? Ghislaine, no, I never knew that, and I can categorically state that had any child said to me that they were 14, 15, 16, maybe not 17, because 17 in England, I mean, if someone said they were 17, I don't. But I've read so much that did happen. So I think even someone who testified at trial, was certainly publicly talked about, was as young as 14 when she was introduced to Mr. Epstein. Well, I believe you're talking about Jane, and I'm, yeah, very happy to address that. If you're familiar with Ghislaine Maxwell's trial, you might remember Jane. This was the story that put Ghislaine Maxwell behind bars. But Jane's not her real name, which you can tell because they don't censor it out. So it was Jane Doe. And I remember she was recruited at a Michigan summer camp. Shocking Jane Doe allegation. Secret sex slur at Michigan Arts Camp. 13, it says. Daily Mail says. I thought she was 14. 13. Okay, right here it says 14. Jane Doe alleges abuse at the age of 14 by Maxwell and Epstein. And so she is one of the many people, by the way, who Maxwell not only like knew about the abuse or like prepared her for the abuse or like told her to go get abused. She participated in the abuse. Abuse at the age of 14 by Maxwell and Epstein while massaging, including with adult toys, explicit behavior. And we don't know who Jane is. We don't know her real name, but that's who they're speaking about. And so here's Ghislaine Maxwell in prison because of this testimony. And she's going, actually, I don't believe that testimony is correct. And then Todd's like, no, I'm not. He said, she said, no, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Me either. I also don't want to get into he said, she said. Ugh, who would want to do that? What about she said, she said? Like, she's like, I don't know. I'm not going to do that. But I believe that what took place with a lot of these people is that there was a slide, right? So there was I don't know what she means by this. So there was a zone, and he did meet her, and I did meet her, and I knew that she was a young child, and I knew she was not an adult but I don't believe he met her till she was 16. But he didn't meet her till she was 16, and the entire testimony of the 14, 15, 16-year-old is therefore not accurate. Did I meet her when she was 16 with her mother? I absolutely did. And did I know that she was young? I absolutely did. But everything that took place that was alleged at trial at the 14 and the 15 and the 16 is not accurate. And so this is sort of similar to like how she defended against Virginia, because she's like fucking, like Virginia says like, hey, like they recruited me when I was 15, and she was like, recruited you when you were 16. And it's like the same thing here. She's like, no, she wasn't 14 when he met her. She was 16. I believe she was 16. Like, where does it say that? I don't believe he met her till she was 16. It's like, that's still a problem, Ghislaine. That's still a huge problem. Oh, boy. Oh, yeah. Oh, interesting. 86, you think? Certainly the 90s. 91, 94, 96, 2001. 97 is the big year with Trump. That's the year that Trump divorced Ivana and married... No, sorry.
divorced Marla Maples. And it was a while until he met Melania. But during that, Epstein was giving Trump girlfriends, like one after another. Date this girl, date this girl, date this girl. Like trafficking, basically. Women to him. So yeah, so she's doesn't really have any excuse. What she's saying doesn't make any sense. She's saying, yes, no, I remember Jane. I remember I met her when she was a child. But Epstein didn't meet her till she was 16. It's like, that's still a child, Ghislaine. That's still an illegal crime. So this is another part. Some of this is just public statements or something that's come out in civil lawsuits about you, Mr. Epstein, giving like an 18, you're turning 18 birthday card to somebody, which again, if true, would by definition mean you knew that she was under 18. Do you recall doing that? I do not. I believe that would be the person that called herself Kate, has now announced herself in her own podcast for who she really is. So this is crazy. When I read this, I was like, whoa, crazy. Because Kate was the pseudonym for Anushka DeGeorgiou in the testimony. And Anushka DeGeorgiou claims to have met Epstein when she was 17. So that would make sense that she's saying that Epstein and Ghislaine gave her a 18th birthday card. And but I just thought it was funny because Anushka, you guys remember Anushka? I've like brought up her podcast, I feel like almost every stream, because it's so interesting. There's like a bunch of new stuff in it all the time. Anushka DeGeorgiou. So why don't I go ahead and she has like no subscribers. And this is in July that this interview took place. So yeah, go subscribe. But like 312 subscribers. But like, yo, I thought I was the only one listening to the Empowered Exchange. Apparently, Ghislaine was listening too. Anyway, yeah, crazy. But yes, she's now announced herself in her own podcast for who she really is. Her name is Anushka. So I did not meet Anushka until actually she was either 20 or 21. That's absolutely not true. So it would be very hard for me to give her an 18th birthday card. In the testimony, there's also, do you accept that slid back? So Anushka is, in my opinion, like one of the most important like victims, and more people should be talking to her. So she would have been 20 in 1997. When Anushka was 20, Ghislaine introduced her to Trump. So this was 1997. She was one of the women who Trump met through Ghislaine and Epstein. One of the at least two that we know of, and very likely many more than that, including maybe Melania Trump. Epstein claimed he introduced Trump to Melania. Okay, this is finally the part. So this is like near the end of the interview. Finally, Todd is like, okay, but like, Ghislaine, you are a child rapist. You are that. Like, that is you. So it's kind of like, I don't know, I guess it's a little bit satisfying to read, especially after like he's just been like super generous with her the entire thing. Yeah, so here we go. I frank discussion about is some of these women have said, oh yes, Mrs. Maxwell was there, to varying degrees. She saw me there. The door was open when I was there. And then much more egregious, right? That you participated and that you were part of it. And so what I really want you to have an opportunity to say to us is where on the spectrum the truth is, whether it's somewhere in the middle, whether it's one extreme or another extreme. Understanding, in my mind, I'm talking about 1994 or 5 to whenever, late 90s or early 2000s. Ghislaine, so I think it's helpful to put this on the time on the calendar, because I think without that, we're lost. So I would say we'll go from the beginning. 91, no. 2, no. 3, no. 4, no. 5, no. 6, no. In that time frame, you have the allegations of Jane. That's the one from Michigan, the camp, which I dispute. I don't think he met her until she was, and then Todd's like, let's not talk about individuals. And I thought this was very, very weird for Todd. Ghislaine, no, I'm just saying. Yeah, I'm with you. But it's only in that time period. I'm only aware of her. Okay. So he's sort of like, she keeps trying to name specific people. And he's like, no. I'm sorry, that's not his voice. He's like, no, don't name specific people. I just want to speak in general terms. Did you witness any of this shit? Did you participate in any of this shit? Or are you saying to us, you fully didn't see any of this shit? It was completely hidden from you somehow. And she goes for so long. And then here's a part where it kind of gets a little bit weird. Were you ever in a massage room with him, with a masseuse that was naked or giving him any sexual favors? I never saw that. Okay. That I remember. Like, how would you forget that? Okay. Did any of the masseuses ever discuss with you
That they gave sexual favors to Epstein? No. Okay, did you ever see an underage girl go into a massage room with Mr. Epstein? No. Okay, did you ever see, oh, the same thing. If you'd seen that, what would you have done? Would you have left? Oh, I can't even conceive. I can't even conceive of, I can't imagine what I would have done. All right, I'm sorry. No, that's okay. Okay. Oh, wait, David Marcus said that. Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah, sorry, I wasn't even paying attention. This is David Marcus asking these questions. Wait, how long was it David Marcus asking these? Yeah, so David Marcus is, well, I believe he's the one of her lawyers. Yeah, he's Ghislaine's counsel. So this is one of her lawyers asking this. Were you ever in a massage room with him or with the masseuse? So this is something like he's already told her what to say to this. So it's interesting that she's not totally exonerating herself, right? She's like, I don't know, maybe I saw some kind of abuse. I just don't remember that. It's like, how would you forget that, lady? I can't even conceive. I can't even imagine. All right, I'm sorry. No, that's okay. Okay, did you ever observe Mr. Epstein masturbating during a massage? Yes, she says, yes. I mean, when I'd seen him on a massage table, if I'd seen him masturbate, I don't know if there's a masseuse present, but I'd seen him on a massage. Oh, and that was Todd Blanche asking that question. Sorry, I just sort of assume it's always Todd and Ghislaine. So I actually missed that it was David Marcus who asked her a lot of those questions. It's like all the Marcus questions, she's like, no. And then in Todd Blanche, did you ever see him masturbating during a massage? Yes. I mean, yeah, of course. Of course I did. If I'd seen him on a massage table, I'd seen him masturbate. Don't know if there's a masseuse present, but I've seen him on a massage. Todd Blanche again, why would you interrupt her here? Okay. Sorry, did you ever see him masturbate with a masseuse, with a naked woman either giving him a massage or reporting to give him a massage? I don't remember seeing that. And then so it goes on for quite some time. And then she's like, I want to say that I have been. I remember there'd be times when he'd be getting a massage and I'd be in the room and I could be on his feet and somebody else could be on his feet and we could be talking. So there is that. But that's not you're not talking about something that's sexual. You're just talking about literally just rubbing his feet. Yes. Okay. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying, okay, well, they could be that sometimes the women might be topless who are giving that. So you could say that was sexual in that context. And it's like, what? Excuse me? This is now an erotic massage, right? That's how I would describe it. I guess for Ghislaine, this doesn't rise to the level of being sexual, but I don't know. I certainly would say. But Todd is also like, no, that's not sexual. I'm talking about the repeated reports of certain sex acts happening with you present and even participating. No, this is Ghislaine saying why Epstein liked to hang out with young people. As he defined it, he found it invigorating. He liked being with younger people, and not just younger people. I'm just saying because they gave him ideas and they were up to date with music. And I don't believe that because Epstein had a documented horrible music taste. This is Jeffrey Epstein's Spotify account, by the way, still up. And he's got a lot of public playlists. Look at all these people following his playlists. It's so much Tiesto. Gossipel. The playlist called Elton John with a bunch of Ray Charles on it. There's a Beatles. Oh, he's got Metric. Wow, some Canadian CanCon. David Guetta, so much David Guetta. Beethoven. He's got like a shitload of Beethoven songs on here. He's got an album called Chelina. It's very, very disturbing. This is Goddaughter's name. And it's almost entirely David Guetta songs. And Maroon 5, Christina Aguilera. Like this guy was hanging out with young people to learn about their music tastes. Maybe he was just signing up with the worst people with terrible music taste. And why is it like David Guetta, David Guetta, David Guetta, David Guetta, David Guetta, David Guetta, and then fucking Rolling in the Deep? What the fuck? Not only does this guy have bad music taste, this guy did not know how to put together a playlist. Anyway, yeah, no, I don't believe this. I don't believe this guy. Todd Blanche asks, how was Epstein able to hide his perversions? I don't understand how he was able to hide this. What seems to be some sort of sexual fixation or issue from others. I don't think he did hide it. That's the answer. And I think the people around him, I think myself included, obviously normalized his behavior on a number of fronts. One, I think because so many people saw it, of such a high caliber down there, that never seemed to think it would. Well, if they thought it was strange, probably they never said it at the time. Anyways, but it's just weird. It's like, why is she's saying like me and other people, he didn't hide it from us and we normalized it. That does not track with anything that she's been saying. Okay, here we go. So if you don't know,
Actually, let me show you the painting. Here it is. No, that's not it. Where is it? Here we go. This was a painting hanging up in Epstein's, I believe this was in the New York house, or was it the Miami Beach house? Anyway, this is it. This is a painting. It's Bill Clinton in a blue dress with red pumps. This is a supposed to be like the blue dress. I don't know if you guys remember the Monica Lewinsky trial. This was a dress she wore. She was an intern for him. She was, I think, 19 years old or something like that. An intern for the president. And he and her had a sexual relationship. And at one point, he got cum on her dress. And this dress became a massive piece of evidence in the trial. It was a stained blue dress. And so this is not a photo, a painting of Bill Clinton wearing this dress that was found in Epstein's house. In Epstein's house, it wasn't a painting. It was a print of a painting. I should specify that. But anyway, a lot of people think it was a painting, including apparently Todd. He goes, when the Southern District of New York case became public, there was a search warrant of Mr. Epstein's house. There was some sort of painting or picture with Mr. Clinton in like a blue signed. Had been signed? No, it didn't. It hadn't been. What do you mean signed? Do you know where he got that picture of that painting? Ghislaine, the first I saw it was in the press. So you never observed that in his no. Brownstone? No, I thought it was hideous. But you never, so you don't know sitting here today where Mr. Epstein got it? No. The circumstances in which he got it? No. Do you know of any other gifts or paraphernalia or art or pictures that former President Clinton gave to Mr. Epstein? No, I mean, did he maybe get him a gift? I don't know. I have no knowledge of that. And I mean, like, I don't know. Like, I do, like, it doesn't make sense that Ghislaine would know about this. She was leaving Epstein's orbit while he was hanging out with Bill Clinton. And you have to imagine Epstein did not get this painting hung up while he was inviting Bill Clinton over. It's by this artist. He's an Australian artist. So the painting, she calls it Parsing Bill. And she has a companion piece of George W. Bush playing with blocks and paper airplanes called War Games. And it's just something she does as an art student. Ryan Cleed. Yeah. Here's the model she got for it. I think that was her teacher at art school. Yeah, here's the one with George Bush. He's got two paper airplanes and some Jenga towers. It's called War Games. You could probably guess where it's going. And yeah, so this would have been way after Ghislaine's time, because she didn't even. When was it that she painted it? Around 2012. So like long after she had been like Ghislaine had left the thing. Like she wouldn't have been around. And when this person, Ryan Cleed, the woman who painted it, she uploaded it. She didn't upload it until, where was it? 2013. Yeah. Saatchi Art website, which allows artists to sell prints of artworks directly to consumers. And I have to agree with Ghislaine. This is a hideous painting. Epstein had really awful taste in interior decorating. All right. They talk more about Epstein masturbating during massages. So Todd Blanche says, so this is not what she said earlier. She said, oh, I saw him masturbating on the massage table, but she never says that he did it in front of a masseuse. And Todd Blanche, but you said earlier you did see him masturbating in front of masseuses. Ghislaine, I don't know if I said that. I don't know. Okay, sorry, I don't want. If I said that, let me ask you a question. Sorry. I don't know for sure I said that. No, that's fair. I said I saw him. I'm sure I saw him well, some people could define contact, because if somebody would not have their clothes or topless, so now it's even more. Now it's not just topless, it's fully naked. I would say maybe I could say that. If I saw him masturbating when someone was there, I don't recall that. I don't have a specific memory of it. I'm sorry. Okay. But no, I'm not. Okay. I didn't say that. Okay. I understand. That's fair. Sorry. I'm not. Anyway. But yeah, no, she's being very weird, right? Like she's not sticking to it one story. She's like, yeah, no, this, that, whatever. She's like, no, never, no, never, no, never. She's like, well, I don't know. Maybe. Oh, geez. Did that happen? Did I witness that horrible crime against a child? I don't remember. Gee whiz, I wish I could remember. But it's a little weird, though. This is the very end. So Todd Blanche, there's a few mentions throughout this interview that he has had a talk with her lawyers that we are not privy to. We did not hear. And at the very beginning of day one, they press play on the recorder like long after it's begun. Like they've not long after, but like they've talked for a few minutes at least. And so here is the ending, and Todd makes, I think he says a little bit too much here. I think he gives it away a little bit about what the understanding is. Todd, okay, so I'll say it to you as I've talked a little bit to your lawyer about it. So maybe he didn't talk to Ghislaine directly. Maybe he talked to, one of her lawyers. I said to you yesterday that the purpose of what we did yesterday and today was exactly what we did, which is to have a conversation about Mr. Epstein and about you. And I think it's very challenging to talk about everything we talked about. And in 1.5 days or in just a period of hours. So I'll talk to Mr. Marcus about kind of what we're going to do next, if anything. So David Marcus, I guess, is the main lawyer who he had spoken to like in private. I'm not being coy, or I don't know yet. I don't know. So we have some work to do. We'll do it with your lawyers to the extent we have questions or follow-up. And this has been very helpful. I think it was you, who kind of said you wanted to talk, but we gladly accepted it. So I do appreciate you being willing to meet with us, and I expect that we'll be in touch soon. All right. Now I think the part that is most sus is line 16 here. The part where he constantly keeps stuttering. He's like, we did exactly what we said we were going to do, and everything went just the way we were hoping it would, and you've told us a lot of stuff, and thank you so much. And then it almost seems like he's about to say like, now there's no guarantee that we're going to be able to give you a pardon, or there's no guarantee that we're going to be able to switch you to a cushy, minimum security prison. Like it almost seems like that's what he's saying, right? Like there's no, and I'm not being coy, or I don't know yet. So he's like, right? Like what else could he be saying there? Like, is there going to be a little bit of a quid pro quo here? I cannot tell you anything specific. I cannot be specific here. I'm not being coy. I don't know. We have some work to do. We'll do it with your lawyers to the extent we have questions or follow-up. And by the way, we didn't even reach out to you. You reached out to us. Like, so that's also something to keep in mind. But it's just like, right? Like, how else am I to read that? I don't know yet. I'm not being coy. I just don't know yet. You don't know what yet. And what is it that you're carefully avoiding saying? Like, I feel like that's what this is, right? Now, I realized after last stream, I'm doing this whole thing where I'm reading all of her excuses, and I'm not really showing you like, how guilty is Ghislaine? How guilty is Ghislaine? Well, here's a photo of her on Little St. James Island in 2006. This is after the time that she said she was not at all involved in this interview. This is the whole Epstein saga. This is maybe one of the most chilling quotes. This is from a woman who knew Ghislaine and would talk to her about, and it was sort of known what was going on with these girls. And I think Vicky Ward has done, is this a Vicky Ward article? No, but Vicky Ward has done more work on this particular source, and I think we know who it is. But a source close to Maxwell says she spoke glibly and confidently about getting girls to sexually service Epstein, saying this was simply what he wanted. This isn't even a victim of Epstein. This is like a high society, like, friend of Ghislaine's. And describing the way she'd drive around to spas and trailer parks in Florida to recruit them. She would claim she had a phone job for them, and you'll make lots of money, you'll meet everyone, and I'll change your life. The source continues, Ghislaine was in love with Jeffrey the way she was in love with her father. Maxwell had one other thing to tell this woman. When I asked what she thought of the underage girls, she looked at me and said, "They're nothing, these girls. They are trash." I'm trying to zoom in on it. They're nothing, these girls. They are trash. Yeah, that's really something. And it's just like there are like multiple victims of Epstein who we know were victims of Epstein. We have photographs of them with Epstein. We know that they were like underage, hanging out with Epstein, meeting all these people, whatever, going on the Lolita Express. We have their names on the Lolita Express. We have documentary evidence that they were being abused. And these women, like many of them, say that Ghislaine not only like witnessed it, she not only specifically trained girls to please Epstein properly, she like participated in the abuse. She would be in like a threesome with this child and Epstein, and like
be performing like sexual acts on these children. Like multiple witnesses have done this. So this is not an innocent person. And I agree, Adam. There is a impulse that a lot of people have to make Ghislaine a victim. And I mean, like maybe she in some way was a victim, but like maybe she was, I don't know, maybe Epstein like did some horrible things to her as well. But that is no excuse. She is not in the same situation that these girls are. She's a grown woman with vast fortune, as opposed to like a high school girl who lives in a trailer park and like needs money. Like this is how, like there's no excuse. And Ghislaine is a perpetrator of this sort of, crime. And my God, if she gets a pardon because of this shit, like Jesus Christ. Like, I mean, I don't know. It's so weird because I still don't get what Trump's whole like goal is with any of this. Why interview Ghislaine? Why do this interview? Why put Ghislaine in another like prison? Like, why do it? How does that help Trump? Like, yeah, sure. Ghislaine Maxwell says in here that like, oh, Trump never did anything wrong and he's great. But no one is going to believe that. Like, I don't get what his goal is here. No one's going to believe anything she says. Like, and if he releases her, it's like the staggering amount of evidence against this woman, the fact that she might actually be released, like, this is not going to shut people up about Trump, about Trump and Epstein. Like, I'm just so confused because I don't understand what he's doing here. Anyways, yeah, guys, that's my whole document. That's my entire document. So we've now gone through both days of this massive document, this Joe Rogan interview with Ghislaine. And I'm like I've been saying, I don't fully trust her. Man, I'm still scrolling. Wow, I'm only here. Jeez. I don't trust anything she says. She's a liar. And obviously she will lie about this. But I think I did learn stuff. There are certain things in here that I'd never heard before. She gave us more names for our Epstein client list. She gave us more. I think for me personally, the most interesting thing was what her theory about the origin of the rumor of the Epstein client list, which is the Alfredo Rodriguez black book where he circled names and then wrote a little list at the end. I learned, I never thought about that, but that made a lot of sense to me. She's 1000% a perpetrator to the point that it feels disrespectful to the victims to even have to say this as if it's something that could be disputed. I totally agree. And it's a real shame that this had to happen just a few months after Virginia Giuffre's tragic death, when she was like insanely brave enough to actually come out and name names and fight these people. And for Ghislaine to be like, just shitting on her, calling her a liar, saying she like it's actually even worse than that. She doesn't just call her a liar. Ghislaine says that Virginia was the one that convinced Epstein to become a pedophile. I don't know, like it's just so disrespectful, incredibly so. Yeah, it's just kind of gross that this had to happen, but yeah, I mean, what was the main thing that we learned? We got a few names, we got a few confirmations of things we already knew or had an idea of. The client, the list of Epstein's financial clients was interesting. She exonerates Clinton almost as much as she exonerates Trump in this. Testosterone. But yeah,